engines! Start your engines!
Ready. Green flag, green flag. All rolling. All the way out. Stay in, stay in, stay in. Bye-bye, on in. See you later. These guys are really good. Keep digging. Stay in the gas. Hang on, dude, baby. Did not hit a thing. Why are you waiting so long, man? Bottom clear, chasing you down here. White flag. Hit your mark.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another NWP Wednesday night. Hope everyone is doing well. Chat, it's great to see you. You're looking beautiful. We got a bunch of ears of corn already in the chat to commemorate the inaugural NASCAR Cup Series race weekend at Iowa Speedway. We will get to Iowa Speedway, but there's a lot of ground to cover between now and then. Going to be an awesome night. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Eric Estep. I am your host, your MC tonight. I'm joined by our usual trio here. Well, including me, it's a trio. We've got Jarrett Lundberg, also known as the Iceberg. We've also got Danny B. Actually, where are you all at? Yeah, Danny B's down here, down south. Going to be a great show tonight, folks. Where should we begin? Do we just want to start with Sonoma, the second road course race of the season?
I mean, since we ignored him the week before, should I tell everybody at home the good news from last week's winner for my end?
Yeah, so Jarrett,
yeah, y'all need to hear this.
Jarrett sends us a text in our group chat. I'll let him tell y'all what it was, but we're just minding our own business yesterday, and Jarrett just drops a text. I go and explain it, Jarrett.
Text. It was a bomb.
It was a bomb that you didn't even know had gone off.
Yeah, so like as many do, since it is legal, I tend to partake in gambling a little bit on races, not too much. I'll drop 5 here or whatever. I'll bet on some underdogs. And I had opened up my DraftKings Sportsbook app, which we're not sponsored by, but they want to. Come on in. I had opened it up to bet on the over-under win percentage on the Vikings because it's down to 6. And I'm like, well, hell, man, that's not too bad. I'll put $5 on it, win like 100 back. And I see that I have $1.3 thousand in my account, which was not the case.
Must be a typo, right?
2 weeks ago. That's what I thought. I'm like, I have $60 in here. I didn't realize I dropped $5 on Austin Cindric, who for some reason they put as plus 25,000 to win.
At Gateway. So this is over a week later. You suddenly noticed that, you placed a big winning bet on Austin Cindric 10 days earlier.
I put $5 on him and I won 1,250.
And here I was mad. I didn't pick him to win for our little, thing. I had him as my underdog. And then Jarrett just said, who underdog? Maybe he is.
Yeah, well, I saw it and I'm like, well, I saw that it was that much. He was like back with Justin Haley and I'm like, this is one of his best tracks. Hell, I'll put $5 on that. That sounds like a good deal. And it was a very good deal. So I'm very happy.
So needless to say, he's going to smile a lot the next time he sees Austin Cindric.
I was going to say, no, I'm going to be smiling when I come visit you guys here in a couple weeks because dinner is on Jarrett. It is official. He's taking us to the Chop House and we're all getting the best thing on the menu, top shelf, and it's on Austin Cindric's win.
No, I'll let him keep that. He's got
I got a good reason. Well, and
yeah, carpets to clean.
He's got some big things going on for him.
Got carpets to clean.
And as Saturday works out well, Danny, I'll have something else for the fish tank too that I need to spend that money on.
Yep.
All right. Well, on that triumphant note, I suppose, let's talk Sonoma. We are now caught up in the present day. Kyle Larson gets the win, his 3rd victory of the season. What a week for Kyle Larson. Recently, cloud hanging over that team, failed double attempt. Are we going to get a waiver? Please, NASCAR? Oh, thank goodness. Whew, wipe the sweat off your brow. Immediately, they turn around and get all their momentum back. Big win at Sonoma. Just fastest car easily in the field, especially the second half of that race. Once Reddick kind of smoked the tires and then didn't pit for tires his final stop, there was nobody catching Kyle Larson. But Kyle Larson gets the win. Let's start there, gentlemen. Danny, I'll begin with you. Kyle Larson, what do you make of him? Is he I don't know. Is he the championship favorite right now? He retook the regular season points lead.
He's definitely up there. I don't know if we have a favorite, honestly. Like, since we kind of this next gen era, I can't ever pinpoint a favorite at this point in the year. I still say Hamlin's probably the best one. All the more common tracks in my opinion. But now for Larson, I mean, I had originally said my thought was I think it would make more sense. Um, don't give him the waiver, but say if he wins again, like just take away the locked in status, and if he wins again, then he's in, and hey, he'd be in now at this point. So either way, he would have got himself in my system. Now I thought it was weird in the end, in closing laps of that, and I made a comment to my wife. They showed how many laps have been since these guys pitted, and they were showing like, okay, Larson's been 21 laps, and we ain't got many laps to go. And I'm like, wait a minute, these guys have been out here for over 30 laps. Like, gosh, how long can they go? And then, sure enough, we started to see guys losing their tires, losing their grip, run out of gas. Truex, looking at you, bud. No, there was all kinds of stuff, and it's like it come down to it, it's like, yeah, Larson really played the smart strategy here.
Their strategy, there was some risk involved because he stayed out long in stage 3, was clicking off some blazing fast lap times because on that repave, the tires just did not wear. But if a caution came out during this like 5 or 10 lap stretch, he was trying to run long. If a caution comes out, he likely is screwed because by that point, a lot of those other drivers had already made their final pit stop. They would have cycled ahead of him, but he ran long. It worked out. Long green flag run, and then Larson was just blazing fast down the stretch. Jarrett, did anything stand out to you watching Kyle Larson this weekend?
Well, I think what stood out to me, and is a part that I don't think a lot are going to look at, is the crew chief side. Cliff Daniels played to Kyle Larson's strength in this race. Kyle Larson's strength is going balls to the wall, fast as you can, don't hold anything back. We've seen him before where long runs, like for instance, Kansas last year, long run, Denny Hamlin runs him down because he burned off his tires. So if you put Larson on the attack, he's the one that's going to be the favorite to win that race. So with fresher tires, a faster car, and overall, as we found out with Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr., a better strategy, what stood out to me is that whole team's clicking. Like, it's not just the driver who's been on fire. Like, that whole team is locked and loaded into the summer.
Yeah, they no mistakes on pit road that I can think of, and the strategy worked in their favor, as opposed to, say, Joey Logano, who started on pole, needed a big points day, looked poised to have a big points day, and then they pit early, got back in traffic, and were caught up in sort of that early hornet's nest. Before we get to some of the major incidents, the early chaos, Danny touched on Martin Truex Jr. running out of gas, still looking for that first win this year. We'll talk more about MTJ later in the show. A lot of speculation regarding his future, but that's just, he wasn't going to win. Larson had got past him. Truex was keeping tabs on him, but he wasn't going to pass Larson. Truex was going to finish second, likely, a nice momentum boost. Then he runs out of gas, limps across the line in 27th. We also saw Kyle Busch run out of gas towards the end as well, though I think he was scored 12th. Both drivers pit the same lap. There's a few others that pit as well. I mean, this 2 weeks in a row, Danny, that a driver running up front contending for the win has run out of fuel. Is this some sort of epidemic we should be worried about going into the summer?
I don't know if it's that, but Sonoma is one of those tracks that this is not the first time we've seen people stretch it too long on gas here before. So I'm not shocked. I mean, it's honestly, it's one of the more challenging road courses we go to on the circuit because there's so much more elevation, which takes more energy, more fuel to go up those hills compared to some of the other road courses we go to. I wouldn't worry about it too much. And now if we start seeing this happening for like 5 weeks in a row, then I'd be a little bit more concerned. But no, nothing to be concerned about right here.
One point I've seen a few make is that with the single locking lug nuts, pit stops routinely in the 8 and 9 second bracket, like because you often are changing the tires quicker than fuel can get into the car, teams are trying to wait on the least amount of fuel possible. I know with Brian Blaney at Gateway, I think they determined that they got the car, they put as much fuel as they thought they needed in the final stop. It was a previous stop that supposedly they must have maybe not gotten enough in. And, they didn't know, again, you end up waiting on fuel and there's incentive to unplug as quick as you can because you're losing spots. Like maybe that could be something we see going forward as pit stops get faster and faster. Waiting on fuel becomes the difference. That's one theory I've seen tossed around, but Truex, Jarrett, man, it's been such a rough stretch for really going back to the start of the playoffs last year.
And majority of it isn't his fault. I think that's the part, like, as just an unbiased observer, that's the part that annoys me the most with Truex is like the driver's on it still. Like if he could just have good strategies and cars that don't break, he's good. He's set.
Yeah.
Give him the setup or maybe the crew chief that the rest of the JGR drivers have, and he's good. I mean, how many times this year have we talked about a race where Martin Truex Jr. is up front and there's a bad pit call or a bad pit strategy or something like that happens, and we're all left scratching our heads like, what's going wrong? It's like more and more it feels like the crew chief at this point. And
yeah, you could be onto something there.
It's just those two have not gelled
I want to know
as I think they want.
No, they have not. I mean, you can see there's a clear, albeit small, but there is a statistical drop off for the moment Cole Pern left and James Small hopped in. It was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins a year with Cole Pern. I know in 2021 with James Small, Truex had a great season, especially at the short tracks, almost won the title. That last pit stop gave it to Larson. But since then, they have been very inconsistent. I want to ask, I see LE Productions popped in the chat. Not sure if he's still watching or listening or he can even hear me right now, but I know he's a Truex fan. What does he blame James Small? He says he's in pain right now with Truex running out of gas. Shout out LE Productions. Where was I going with this? I was going to say something about Truex. Oh, I was going to give him credit because he was off in qualifying, which surprised me. But lo and behold, newly repaved Sonoma, bad track position, does not matter. Martin Truex Jr. was in contention for yet another Sonoma victory. I know he did the test earlier this year, but that was still kind of impressive. That recovery from a slow start to the weekend to be in contention at the end.
Spin at the start.
And he got door slammed by Josh Berry, that one big wreck. So, he survived an awful lot to still run well at his best track.
And he got spun by one of the Australians. He had everything go wrong, and he still almost pulled it off.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Truex, I think, is still at the top of his game. We'll talk more about Martin in a little bit, so I don't want to, spoil all of our Martin Truex Jr. takes here, but he is still very good. And LE Productions believes the crew chief is a big problem. Yeah, I think a lot of Truex fans do feel that way at this moment. But
I just still will never understand why his old crew chief really left. Honestly, he wasn't old. He was at the.
Didn't he go own a ski lodge or something?
Yeah,
was that a dream I had?
He's in his prime. Could have probably negotiated to get whatever contract he wanted.
I mean, it reminds me of Ray Evernham. I mean, Cole Pern was probably just blow for blow, probably the best crew chief at the time in NASCAR. And is like, I'm good. I got everything done I wanted.
This is just random. I feel like this is something I talked about. He can negotiate whatever contract we want. That's something I never have known anything about. I don't know. It should be, my opinion, should be like football players where you hear these big news of I'm just going to say Titan players. Will Levis just signed this 3-year, whatever $1 million contract. You don't ever hear, this driver's, worth more. He just signed this big contract compared to this. Oh, this crew chief, will get a lot more performance at this. He's worth this much per year. You never hear that stuff for some reason.
Maybe you will at the cost cap.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's honestly, I don't even think about with cost cap being in play, but yeah, the lack of financial transparency in NASCAR is completely understandable, but it does take away a huge talking point that other sports have.
You don't know what the value is on all these people.
Exactly. In football, you talk about, hey, is it right to sign this player? And because of the money, that's a factor in the conversation. Whereas in NASCAR, we're always like, yeah, they should sign this guy. He might come with some sponsorship. We don't know how much. We don't know how much they're going to sign him for, but he's a good driver. Yeah, sign him. You see, it's a much shallower, less complex conversation. So I mean, drivers and teams would hate this, but I am all for more financial transparency in NASCAR. Gives us a whole hell of a lot more to talk about and debate.
I would personally love to know, what's the value on your favorite driver?
What does Alex Bowman make per year right now, and how does that compare to what William Byron is making right now? That's a hell of a debate right there. I'll bet it's similar. I bet Bowman might make more because of the Ally partnership.
If it did happen like that too, I'd find it really. It would be interesting with a salary cap with the drivers or even the whole team if you want to add in the whole team with it.
Oh yeah, because then you'd be like, Hendrick, you can't have 4 guys making X million per year, Well,
but it's like that. It's like, you brought up the Titans, I'll bring up the Vikings. It's like, the Vikings have been in cap hell for a while. They offload different talent. They got to reset, and then they have all this cap space. A NASCAR side of that, it's like, oh man, Hendrick somehow worked out a really good deal, and they got Larson and Byron still. They might be able to get Elliott and still get a good prospect.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Eric needs to read Camelot's comment.
I like it. Camelot, Arca Superstar here says his value as a driver is negative $27. I think he's selling himself a little short. I mean,
I got $3.
He's in the red. Come on. I actually, I guess there's probably a lot of racers in the red, unfortunately.
I was going to say that this conversation only makes sense for Cup guys because, unfortunately, I know those conversations for the series below Cup.
Yeah, it could get jarring very quickly, but good to see you, Camelot. We will get back to Truex in a little while. We'll also talk about Kyle Busch a little bit later as well. He was involved in a late race incident, though, with Ross Chastain. Looked like he was going to finish 5th, maybe 6th. Gets turned by Ross on the final lap. It's pretty obvious Chastain got into too hard, either wheel hop or locked up the front tires. Probably a mistake, but a very aggressive mistake that contributed to Kyle Busch's worse finish. He still scored 12th, which all things considered is not terrible. But Jarrett, what was your reaction to our first Ross Chastaining we've seen in a little while?
Well, I'll admit, because I was live, people can go back and see my reaction. I was more pissed at NASCAR because I kept putting him, Kyle Busch 12th, then 17th, then 12th, and 17th, back and forth.
Yeah.
But this is like of the Ross Chastain deals, this is one of the least egregious. Like he overcooked it on the last lap racing hard.
Just getting aggressive.
Like, least egregious, I wholeheartedly disagree. I think it's one of the most egregious. I mean, the actual result for Kyle Busch isn't that egregious. He lost like 6 spots. I mean, that he's in a playoff fight for a playoff spot, so 6 points makes a big difference. But still, I mean, but he didn't even come close to make it. He hit him. They were over the rumble. They were like off track. They were like, what's the word? They'd already moved past track limits when Chastain turned him. Like Kyle Busch gave him 5 lanes to work with, and Chastain used up every single one of them. Like somehow Ross Chastain wheel hopped in a car we've been told you can't wheel hop in.
But how many times has Chastain done something where it's like, I really didn't mean to get into him and I just did? Like, this is just Ross stuff. Yeah, I mean, this is just Ross. I expect the fact he hasn't done this, at least from what we can remember at the moment this year so far, that's true. A genuine miracle.
Character development, I'll give you that.
Either character development or being held on a leash by Trackhouse of like, don't do anything, don't say anything, don't even breathe on anybody. All right, just
Ross
stay away.
Be like, oopsie.
Ross Crashdane just left a super chat saying, "Sorry, Kyle."
I just wish we could have got something from both of them.
Like, yeah, no reaction from either of them. Yeah,
well, you weren't going to get it from Ross.
No, Ross wasn't going to go confront Kyle Busch. He was going to, I'm not going to say he's going to hide, but
even an interview. Yeah, it's the Trackhouse way of, we did something, hide from all accountability from the media and act like it didn't happen. It's a perfect online persona.
Yeah.
Quick question here. Thinking of the Kyle Busch Ross situation. Had Kyle not been spun out, he's still going to run out of gas. Does he run out of gas during the race, or does he make it because he's not having to get himself out of that scenario?
I'd argue he makes it because
he'd be closer for sure.
He'd probably gas it up at first, thinking, okay, save it before locking it down. Then you have to gas it back up to get back up to speed. Where I think he'd make it or run out way closer to the finish line. Because
he did run out, and knowing that he would have been that close, he should have even more reason to be mad because his race strategically was going to be fine until that happened.
Press your luck, Kyle. Get another fight. See what NASCAR will do this time.
So Larson wins. Truex so close to getting his first victory. Kyle Busch versus Chastain on the last lap. But the first half of this race saw chaos, carnage. I mentioned Josh Berry piling into everyone in turn 11. We saw a spin at the top of the hill that involved Chase Briscoe and Joey Logano. Numerous incidents. Cindric almost went flipping, old school Sears Point style here. Gentlemen, what did you make of just this race overall? Repave, road course. Would not expect this to be a good next-gen combination. But Jarrett, did you think this was overall a respectable road course race?
So I gave it, I was between a 6 or a 7. I think I'm leaning more towards 7. The middle of the race was so damn sloppy. And it was funny at first, and it was like, okay, like they're driving hard. It's a new course, all that. And then it kind of got like stupid. Yeah. And then it got better. So it started good, got stupid, got way better. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I thought it was fairly enjoyable. Danny, did you have any take on the start of this race at least?
This was finally what I think I remember Sonoma being like, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
They did show that good highlight reel package of old crashes at Sonoma, some spectacular, scary crashes in Sonoma history, but some of the clips they
We
showed were
nearly
fairly
saw
modern.
Austin Cindric do his best Steve Park impression.
That's what I mean, is it was like they showed you that, hey, this has been Sonoma in the past, and we kind of got a glimpse of that again here this
And
weekend.
even with the wall there, I don't think that made as big of a deal as people thought it would
No,
have.
unless you're
No.
Ty Gibbs, then it made a
Yeah,
huge
that's
deal.
true. I forgot to mention him. That did
Well,
ruin Ty Gibbs's race.
if anything, it did. It made Barry's situation a little bit more unique because
Spicy.
had that not been there, he probably can just break into that area, come to a stop, and then go.
Like,
Yeah.
I thought people made way more of a big deal about that. Like, there was like, I get having concern, and I get being like, okay, for tradition's sake, I don't like this kind of change. Doesn't look as good. But it's like there were people saying this is going to ruin the race. It's going to clog everyone up. 30 cars are going to get taken out in this corner because it's going to get clogged. And it's like, no, like
That area always gets
someday
clogged,
it
even
will.
without the wall.
Yeah, maybe someday probably it'll happen in like 40 years, and someone will be like, I told you in 25 that this would happen. It took till 65, but it happened. Like, I overall with this race, like Danny was saying, it reminded me of early Gen 6 or COT Sonoma, where you could actually
COT Sonoma, people might not remember, was really fun, actually.
Yeah, and that's why, like, when people are like, well, how can you like Sonoma? I'm like, because I remember what Sonoma was before we started taking power away from the cars, before we started changing the layout, before yada, yada,
Back when the
yada.
cars, other than Chastain, would wheel hop, and they'd be out of control.
Like, I remember, say, 2016 or so, before the Stewart finish, with Denny, where like guys would be running top 10 and their day gets ruined because somebody overcooks it in the corner into them, or they end up hitting, a wall or something like that. And
I still haven't forgiven Dale Jr. for turning Matt Kenseth in the S's that one year. He got up on the curb a little too far.
2014, right? Because I think Junior, I remember that
he was
race.
14. Yep.
Yeah, I remember that race because I believe it was Edwards won on 3 stops. Gordon finished second on a 2-stop strategy, and Junior finished third on a 7-stop strategy.
I love it.
Steve Letard every time. Pit it again. The tires will matter eventually.
Yeah.
And that happened.
The tires. Yeah, the tires did not wear, but you did see very different strategies because of all those early cautions. Again, it bit guys like Joey Logano, but ultimately allowed someone like Martin Truex Jr. to recover from all those early setbacks. So we're kind of working this race backwards. Before we get to the playoff picture, talk a little more.
We're working it like a old school road course strategy.
I like it.
Let's
pretend we did this on purpose. Let's pretend that was an intentional decision. The race began with Denny Hamlin blowing a motor on lap 2. That was, I mean, I know there's a lot of Hamlin haters out there, but that was tough to watch. FedEx hasn't had a primary on that car in like 2 months, and they got 2 laps in Sunday. So that was kind of disappointing. It's a good looking paint scheme, but it's the second week in a row a JGR car has blown a motor. It sounds like 2 completely different issues, but Danny, is this something to watch out for in the coming months?
I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think, like, first of all, I think someone pointed out it's just it seems so uncommon for the next gen so far to blow motors because, no offense, it ain't got enough horsepower to be able to be blowing too much. But also Gibbs in general would never strike me as a team to worry about consistent engine failures like this. They're going to happen. They're unavoidable. They are going to happen from time to time. I wouldn't be too concerned for now.
I think one thing, though, to remember is there is a limited amount of engines are able to use, limited amount of cars are able to use. And I think Denny had said that this engine was the one they planned to bring to Pocono, which that's pretty big track for him to capitalize on. So I think maybe if another one happens with JGR, especially if it's the 11 or the 20, then I think there's something to worry about. I think it's something to keep on the radar, because if it does become a problem over the summer and they're having to go to their backups when it comes to crunch time, then it's going to matter. But I think at this point, it's just two is a coincidence to me.
I just know in 2022, Kyle Busch, some of this was next gen gremlins, but I know Kyle Busch had some engine and technical issues at the start of the playoffs, derailed his season. I know there's a lot of issues with Kyle Busch and Gibbs that year, but it's just something to keep an eye on. Long way between now and the start of the playoffs, but it is something I think to keep an eye on. We don't see other teams or manufacturers with these kinds of engine issues right now. Well, we've worked the race backwards officially. Let's kind of work the first half of this season backwards, if you will. Fox, they're done for the year. And when I say done, I mean done. Race Hub had their final episode last night. Giant spectacular with like 30, 40 former Race Hub, what would you call them? Cast members, panelists, hosts.
They had people call in, like Chris Devoto.
Yeah. Yeah, they had people sending in their tapes. They had Mr. Excitement, Jimmy Spencer, on to chat with, I forget who he was on stage with. They had different groups kind of coming in. Kenny Wallace, Jeff Hammond, a lot of great familiar names from the past 15 years of NASCAR Race Hub. We also found out today that NASCAR Race Day, at least for the rest of this year, is not going to be a thing on Fox. So Fox, their portion of the schedule is done. They will continue to carry truck races the rest of this year, but for Cup and Xfinity, that torch passes to NBC/USA Network beginning this weekend at Iowa. What kind of grade, and I know you just did a video on this, Jarrett, so I'll start with you. What kind of grade or performance review, let's just say, would you give Fox Sports for the 2024 season?
Overall, I'll say D-, because I think the booth improved immensely. I think that Mike Joy seemed to be 5 to 10 years younger. Like, he was still making some mistakes, but you could tell having the same people helped. Clint Boyer, I think he's the most improved as the year went on. I mean, the start of the year, I just remember that one part in the pre-race of the Clash where Mike Joy and Kevin Harvick are talking about Harvick's first win and how emotional it was. And Clint Boyer just comes in, like, as they're really getting sentimental about it, talking about Dale Earnhardt, and he just goes in, that just means y'all are old now. It's like, shut up, Clint. Like, be quiet.
Hot rod.
Yeah, there's a hot rod there, man. You took it right from Dale. Just like learn the room. And he did. And to Clint's credit, he was the one most, I think, during the year calling out production for like, hey, this is happening. Hey, look, they just lit off 20 nukes on the backstretch. We should have a camera on that.
They never catch that live. How?
And it has to be a regulation.
If you're ever at the track and you get a radio, listen in on the Fox like broadcast, like on their radio, because when they're in commercial, you can hear these guys talk a little bit more than they would on camera. Yeah. And you'll hear them call out some stuff like, guys, when I'm talking about this battle, you need to get the camera on them. And it's not just the guys in the Cup Series. Like, I heard Michael Waltrip talk about, guys, you need to get the camera on this.
Yeah, and Harvick too, and I think Harvick was really a good addition. I'd give him probably a B this year, just because first full year, the grind. The guys and gals in the pits I thought were good. It's all production for me. I mean,
I think
it just.
Sorry, don't mean to cut you off.
No,
I agree.
Yeah, go for it, because you're going to say probably the same thing I'm going to say here.
Well, when John was on the show, and we've had a few other folks on the show since John who've all kind of echoed the same thing, but you're right. Whereas a couple years ago, I think the booth was a concern. I don't care what anyone says. Jeff Gordon did not fit the TV role well, in my opinion. I think Darrell Waltrip at the end was more of a caricature rather than an actual asset. Boyer and Mike Joy with a revolving door of guests. Like, even Mike Joy admitted during an Athletic article this past week that was a challenge. It's challenging to get people up to speed that quickly every single week. I think the booth the past few years has been one of the leading problems. That was not the case this year. Harvick was good. Boyer, I agree, Jarrett, got better. Mike Joy sounded younger. Production is the problem. And this is where it's obvious, painfully obvious, that Fox is slashing budgets across the board. I don't know who they have, directing the cameras, directing the shots, but they're a step behind constantly. It seems like they have fewer cameras than usual. They miss so many incidents. We talked all about that Busch Chastain crash. We didn't watch that on the Fox broadcast. We all saw that thanks to an onboard clip NASCAR posted half an hour later. Like, there's just so much that they miss and so much that they fail to catch in real time that it's painful sometimes to try and follow all the action at home. There's so many gaps we know they're not filling us in on.
And I retweeted this, I believe earlier today, and we're not saying directing a broadcast is easy. If it was easy, we'd probably be doing it.
I'd love to do it. I'd love to get trained to do that one day, but I couldn't do it now by no means.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
Real quick, I retweeted this clip from 2001 that somebody posted of the Phoenix Cup race on NBC, and it was the director's mic, and you hear him go, "Check out the 2 car about to make a pass, pan to 3, pan 4, and then it's like zoom in on the 2, zoom out, pan 5, in, pan," and it's so he's like directing everything, and that's how each broadcast is. So I'm not saying it's easy. But I've had this from a few Fox defenders who are like, well, you can't do it. It's like, well, no, I can't. But that's your job. Like, your job is to do that. Our job is to make sure, like right now, is make sure the stream is good, that we have good chemistry, that we know what we're talking about. If we didn't do that, you in the chat rightfully should call us out, just like the directors at Fox, who I think everyone, even the broadcasters themselves, are calling out.
The classic meme from I think last year of Boyer trying to get them to stay on one shot and then throwing his pen when they cut away. I'd have to go back and read the interview Mike Joy did recently. There was a line in there where he mentioned they have a new person either in production or direction. I don't remember, and I don't have it off the top of my head, but he did say it was somebody new. This was just their second year doing it, and that they didn't come from NASCAR. If that's the case, I think it shows if they are the person in charge who I think they are. But that's where things can improve next year. The booth is fine. I'm kind of glad, actually. I'm actually kind of excited Mike Joy is coming back for another year at least. But the actual production, it just feels cheap. It feels like there are so many things that we, the audience, are not getting to see. And that's brutal. That is brutal. I asked the chat, what grade would you give Fox for 2024? 4% of our live viewers, we have almost 700 people watching live right now, 4% gave them an A. All right, okay, I get it. I love Mike Joy too. 12% gave them a B. Okay, Kevin Harvick was a good addition. I'll give you that. 50% gave him a C. See, I would probably fall in the C- to D range. And then 35% gave F. I didn't have an option to put D in there. I could have just taken A off the board maybe and done B through F, but 33% said F. So clearly our viewers not the biggest fans. I also love that from some reports recently, the leaked NASCAR Fan Council survey.
I got it.
Do you have it pulled up?
Well, I have it at least on my phone. Danny, I want to know your grade for Fox this year while I get it set up.
Oh, I kind of thought you guys gave up on me, so I just
no. We're dragging it back in. Spit it out. Come on, let's hear it.
It's also D tier for me. Great from the booth standpoint. The talent is good. They just said goodbye to NASCAR Race Hub and all that. Honestly, that was never really my thing. It just felt way too polished, way too corporate for my liking. But it was still solid. To me, that got worse over time, but it still held it together with some decent talent on there. I think that was better produced than the live stuff, honestly. But also, they have the ability to do some pre-editing on that part of it as well. And it isn't just something you guys might not know about me. I don't want to say the company just for personal reasons, but my full-time job is I do work for a TV network, and I've seen some behind-the-scenes stuff on some of the stuff we produce. And one of the biggest things is here in town, they film a talk show. I've been behind the scenes helping because I do some digital stuff with them. So I'm familiar with, being in there, been in the control room during a big live stream with the host of that show before. And I'm familiar with doing a lot of editing for them that sometimes I know not everything's going to be perfect from the way the director cut it. And I do have to go in and change some things, edit some things together. But there's a big difference between doing the editing side of stuff and when there's something that has to go live. I do know there's big differences, but some of the stuff I've seen, from just what I know working on this stuff now, is some of the stuff was just entirely inexcusable when you're at that level, which is still way, way above, I think, even where my company is. You should be held to a higher accountability than this. So it's a D because I give the production quality an F this year in particular.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's, it kind of reminds me of like when you're in school and, you get on all your homework assignments, you're getting, A's and B's, maybe some C's here and there. And then you have this like disaster piece of a finals where you just flunk it terribly and it craters your entire semester. And that's kind of been Fox this year. So real quick before I forget, I do have this pulled up now, at least on my phone, so I can read it out to you guys.
Yeah, read us at least some of the highlights, because this new fan council survey NASCAR apparently just sent out is very Fox focused.
Oh, yes. So page 1 I have here. We're gonna work it backward. No, we'll start with page 1. They say, thinking about the overall broadcast career of each full-time commentator below, where in their career path would you say each is currently?
I've heard they've asked this before. I think.
No. They have not went to like where are they?
No,
in
not
their
this much
career.
detail.
So it's Adam Alexander, Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick, Mike Joy, Jamie Little, Jamie McMurray, Larry McReynolds, Chris Myers, Josh Sims, Regan Smith, and Michael Waltrip. And here are the 6 options you can fill in: on their way up, nearing their peak of their career, just past, on their way out, or don't know, unsure.
Kevin Harvick's on his way out. He's washed.
I'm genuinely curious. We don't have to do this for all 3 of us, but Jarrett, let's do this random driver style. Jarrett, would you like to ask us these, and me and Eric will give our opinion on each of them?
Sure. I mean, do you guys remember the options?
Yeah,
I'm looking at it right in front of me, so I can tell you.
All right, give us just like 3 or 4. I don't know if we should go down the whole list.
Okay. We can probably do the list quick if we just rapid fire it.
That's fine.
Adam Alexander.
I think he's in his prime.
I think peak.
Same.
Yeah.
Clint Boyer.
Nearing peak.
Yeah, I would say nearing peak. I think he can still get better. I haven't lost faith.
I'm going to make it boring and agree again. Kevin Harvick.
On their way up.
I think he's in his prime. I think he's already found a pretty good. I would say nearest peak.
I'll go with on their way up. Mike Joy.
Just past peak. I would say on their way out, but I have no clue when he's leaving.
Yeah, I mean, I think physically he is on his way out, just naturally at the age he is, but talent-wise, I agree with Danny, just past his peak.
By the way, remember the next couple, this is for in the booth, not pit road, not in the studio.
Okay.
Jamie Little. I had to say it right now.
Well, it's like she's technically like on her way up. Like, I can't imagine she'd get any more awkward or clumsy in the booth. Again, a lot of times she's calling races remotely, I swear. So I don't know how that's a difficult job, but she's not good in the booth.
I'm gonna be harsh here and say just past peak, because she's going past what she was great at this
I see. That's a good way to put it. She's like, yeah, that's a good way to put it. I agree.
I'll go on your way out when it comes to commentator. Like, get her out of here. Jamie McMurray.
Nearing peak.
I think if they put Jamie McMurray in today, he would be in his prime. He's ready. He's cooked. Seasoned.
On his way up, just because I think he'll need that Cup experience a little bit more. Larry Mack.
On their way out. I'm sorry. There's not much to do with Larry Mack.
We finally disagree for real. He's in his peak still. He's still in his prime.
I think he's just past his peak. I mean, this year he sounded older, and that's no disrespect to him. You get older.
He's only 65. What's retirement age in this country now? Like 80?
Well, by the time we're going to retire, it's going to be 100. So it doesn't really matter what retirement age is
anymore. He's not that old. Larry Mack's fine. He's in his peak.
Nah, he was in his peak like
Chad
10
agrees
years
with me. Look at this.
I want him in the booth.
Always in peak.
I think he's at the same level Mike Joy is. A rejuvenated Mike Joy is where Larry Mack is. And that has no disrespect. But he is not in his peak. We need young blood.
I got some good
his peak will never end.
One.
All right. The guy who commentates really bad NFC North games, along with Kenny Albert, it's Chris Myers.
Okay, I'm gonna say on their way out, because now they have UFL. You may not like him, Jarrett. I think he's not bad at football. I think they're going to want to focus him more on just football. Do football in the fall and do football in the spring of UFL.
Yeah, I think he's better than Kenny Albert.
I think he's good. I mean, he's probably past his prime, but I still like Chris Myers.
I'm going on their way out, because I just don't see with Fox cutting stuff why they would keep him if they're not going to have pre-race anymore, or if they're going to cut pre-race down. What does he do during the broadcast anymore?
Nothing. He's done when the races.
He's on the plane home.
He was probably racing Denny home.
They're on the same jet.
All right, Josh Sims.
On his way up. He can do a lot more.
He looks good. He seems to sound really good.
Yeah, I think If it's commentator only, I'll say I'm unsure just because I don't know if he's commentated before.
I've not heard him in the booth, but pit road, he's good. And on race hub,
I would like to see Josh Sims do ARCA over Jamie Little, personally.
I think I would agree.
Regan Smith.
Nearing peak, I can't see him really getting past the pit reporter. He's really good at pit reporting,
I think
honestly.
he's at his peak.
He's a good pit reporter. I think he's at his peak as well. I don't think they should give him too much more.
Save the best for last. Mikey.
Ooh.
On his way
That's
out.
a tough one.
I'm sorry. If Fox is going to change how they use him.
Just past peak. Honestly, it's funny how long he's been doing Truck Series commentary. He's been doing it since the Speed Channel days. He took a week off from Speed to go race in it in 2011. But honestly, I think he's just past peak. He was probably better in his Speed Network days, but he's just become, through time, an iconic voice of the Truck Series.
I'm not going to go as far as the chat, who's mostly saying he's on his way out. I'll agree with you, Danny. He's just past his peak.
That was fun. That was fun, actually.
I like that. That was good.
And the other page really here, I don't think we need to go too far in depth.
No, that was more good to do opinions on that.
But I'll kind of read out examples. So they mistyped. They said, "How did these Fox Sports guys? Please rate how you feel Fox Sports did in 2023." I think they meant 2024. In each area broadcast listed below. I mean, they could just repeat it because it's the same questions. And it goes from 1 being poor job to 5 being great job.
Oh, I don't care. I'm still gonna give a number when you do these, honestly.
If you guys just want to do it with no
just do 1 through 5. 1 is the worst, 5 is the greatest.
Yeah, and I'll just snap real quick through them.
Okay.
Never missing important on-track action.
0.
1.
Covering all drivers regardless of position.
2.
3.
In-car camera angles.
5. They do it a lot.
They do it almost too much, but they do have a good selection. I'll give them a 4.
Using drones for coverage.
Do they still do that? Sometimes, right?
Really just the burnout.
There is an I don't know option.
Honestly, the drone is kind of ugly when it's not used for burnout. Like the rest of the time, it's kind of pointless. So I'll go 3.
Use of wide camera shots that
1.
show more racing.
I would say 1, yeah.
Utilizing a variety of camera angles throughout the broadcast.
2.
No, there's 3, I guess.
Balancing the amount of commercials and on-track racing.
1.
I mean, the big races, it's a 0. The biggest races, it's a 0 for sure.
Utilizing split screen for commercial coverage.
We need more of it, so I'll give them a 1 because that's about what they've done so far.
2.
Explaining the driver strategies for driver strategies and team strategies.
If Larry Mack was in the booth, it'd be a 4. Instead, it's a 2.
Honestly, he's not even doing that much anymore. 2.
The crank it up portion of the race.
Actually, it's gotten worse. So I'll go 2.
1 for me, honestly. It's got worse.
Utilizing on-screen graphics well.
1. Get rid of the cartoons.
Oh, yeah, good point. 0.
Animated driver graphics.
Oh,
1.
never mind.
For that.
Yeah, that's a 0. The last one, I'll give him a 2 then.
And the last one, the grid walk with Michael Waltrip.
It doesn't piss me off as bad as it used to, but I still don't like that it's the last thing you see before opening ceremony, so I'm going to go 2.
I also couldn't care less to tune in for that, so 1.
I watched a couple this year, and it was. I know Mikey used to run marathons, but he is on his way out with that. If I want to stay in character,
y'all can just read that recent super chat. Oh my god,
I have a big Caitlin Vincey fan in the chat. Thanks for the super chat, Andrew. We will. That's a good segue, actually. We will be reacting to all of these super chats beginning at the top of the hour, the first super chat stage break. That was a good year-end review of Fox NASCAR. Godspeed Race Hub. Really feel for all the people who, I guess, won't have jobs now as a result of Fox inexplicably making some major cuts right after signing a huge extension.
You said that, and all I could think of was Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Spiders!
All right.
We've got over 700 people tuning in. We got to get moving. I'm going to save the playoff picture until we talk Iowa. I think that's going to be interesting. All y'all need to know is that Chris Buescher did he win stage 2? Yes, he did win stage 2, right? He is now 15th plus 32 points. Bubba Wallace is now on the bubble. Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Chase Briscoe still the first 3 out, but now in that order. Let's talk TV ratings about Sonoma real quick. Some good news here. Sonoma earned 2.895 million viewers, which is roughly flat from last year. 20% of the audience was in that key age 18 to 49 demographic. But Fox overall, we just clowned on them a little bit. Some constructive criticism, I'd like to call it. They were up year over year 1%, averaging 3.369 million viewers per NASCAR Cup Series race. And that's despite the Clash being pushed up a day early, the Daytona 500 and the Coke 600 being severely impacted by weather. 3 of the biggest races of Fox's portion were all dramatically impacted by weather, and yet they still ended the year 1% up from last season. So that is big.
I'm going to do the math while you're doing this really quick to show
FS1,
how many a race that is.
FS1 notably was up 13%. I will say, while the weather was a huge obstacle to overcome, having Chase Elliott in every race was a boost for this year. And I think Larson's double attempt at least boosted the Wilkesboro ratings by quite a bit. So there were a few caveats, but overcoming those weather issues to at least be flat and even up slightly in viewership is a big win for NASCAR, no doubt. So did you have your calculations?
Doing it in my head right now. So that's a combined nearly 5 million viewer drop just from those 3 races alone. And I'll use my calculator for this to show the per race loss that those 3 races being rained out or changed the dates of, how much that affected per race in the average, which would be so those races being rained out alone brought the average down 261 or 262,000 viewers a race on average, down just from those 3 races alone. So where to put it?
That's got to be 7-8% difference.
Well, so this year averaged it let's see, it was like, I think around 4 million. And if you add that 262,000 in when it comes to like the Fox side, because those all were big Fox races.
You can hear Jarrett's keyboard click-clacking as he calculates these numbers in real time.
To put it in perspective, for Fox races, that would have been the highest on just the Fox races alone. It would have been the highest Fox year in I think like 4 or 5 years, had those races not been rained out. Figures when the 3 biggest races get affected, that's what happens.
Yeah, bummer, but all things considered, a pretty big win on the ratings front for the first portion of the schedule. But those ratings are one thing. The more important ratings on this show are what our viewers had to say on the famous iceberg poll. I'll read the results, and then Jarrett, you get the gutter and the rest of our comment section ready. Jarrett, after every race, and I mean immediately after every race, puts a poll out on his YouTube community post, and 14% of voters said this was a great NASCAR Cup Series race. 61% said it was good, meaning 75% gave this race a thumbs up. 18% said it was an average race. 4% said below average, and 3% called it a bad race. There are the Denny Hamlin fans, I imagine. Maybe some Truex fans mixed in there. Jarrett, what kind of comments did you get on the poll this week?
Well, our first comment was from Vermonter1245. So is it positive, negative, meme, or a mix?
Positive.
I want to say positive. Vermont's a solid state. I've been there before.
He says, Fox crap finally over. On to nothing but crap or commercials. Take your pick.
Well, that's a very negative comment, I
Very
think.
Negative. They're positive for the Fox leaving, I guess. But
yeah.
And I'm scrolling through right now, so just hold on. I'm just making sure all these things like snap up for me. That way I'm not worried about the gutter later on. All right, we're good. To the top here. Top comment comes from Marshall Griffin, who says, imagine what this win would have been like if Larson's waiver didn't get approved.
Exactly. That was my whole argument as to why they had to give him one, whether it was, in their best interest or not. I mean, it was in their best interest because you didn't want this cloud hanging over the rest of the season. The narrative would be completely different this week if they'd not given him a waiver.
SMCS Racing Network says this Limu Emu commercial was sponsored by NASCAR.
And Doug.
And Doug, yes. We all should get an Emmy for surviving Fox this year, says Milton. Damn. Brutal. Brahma Pigeon says, well, at least Fox is gone. Jimmy making it work says Denny Hamlin did not beat your favorite driver.
Mm-mm.
Let's see. Can't read that because of the username.
Rough.
NASCAR fan forever says, "Man, that was a good race. Not gonna lie," with a thumbs up. Arm317 says, "Road course equals off week."
Yikes.
Metal Junk says, "Crash fest at the beginning, but turned into a solid road course race."
I think so. I agree, especially for a repave.
EA Productions says, "Finally done with Fox." And Dynaco Cup Series says, I would be shocked if MTJ returns this year. I would be shocked.
Ooh, we will get to that shortly. That's going to be an interesting conversation. What's the gutter looking like, Jarrett? Do we need to clean it out this week? Get our blowers out? Ooh, get some leaf filter in honor of Matt Collick.
No, it's not that. Oh my god!
Yeah, I'm not that funny.
I know who this is that put one of them, so I can't believe this isn't the gutters. Holy boy! It's gonna go back to a story we talked about last week from my end here. So XX Stig says, "I hate Larson, so I would say bad, but at least my favorite driver Truex didn't suck today, so I'll say good."
Oh, okay.
And the first comment is, "Truex ran out of gas at turn 11 on the last lap."
Yeah, I was gonna say he didn't end well for Truex. He ran well.
Jordan here says horrible, but the one I laughed at here is, and this is just the at the carpet Jarrett burned. I know who put that. It's 30 minutes ago. I know who put it.
Oh no.
It says and it says, "Jarrett, just because you canceled my first account doesn't mean I'm dead. Just like when you set me on fire, I always come back, and I will continue to haunt you with threats and FBI calls."
What kind of? That's a mean carpet right there.
Oh, there's a story I had last week where I set my friend's basement
Yes.
carpet on fire and melted it to the concrete underneath. And
yeah. How old were you when you did that again? 26?
Like 15 or 16. I remember because all of us. This is the funniest part that people usually laugh at when I tell them the first time is the fact that all of us were sober and doing that. We were just idiots.
Yeah.
Like, at least
and now you'll pay the price. That carpet is now haunting you in our comment section all these years later. Look what you've done. You've awakened the spirits.
I like in the chat, magic carpet ride.
Hey,
welcome.
You. Wait, speaking of, hey, you. It's in this game.
Oh my god. Okay.
Is that the gutter?
That's the gutter comments, and I just see Napa Racing in the chat going fire. Like beavers. Beavers.
Thank you all for leaving comments on the iceberg poll. We read the best responses the best and the worst responses every single week. Before we get to our first super chat stage break, we just hit 400 likes, only 100 likes away from our like goal, and we're not even to halfway. You guys are killing it out there tonight.
They want to see that random driver. They are not slacking off this week.
Yeah, let's talk Xfinity Series first and foremost. This is going to be fun. Shane Van Gisbergen had a hell of a West Coast swing, winning Portland and Sonoma back-to-back. First two Xfinity wins, both come at road courses. He's in the playoffs.
Did a nice drifting burnout for the fans that quickly became for someone else.
We'll have a vendetta against him soon.
Yes, we know how the internet feels about Austin Hill. Gentlemen, let's start there before we talk bigger picture with SVG. Did you like SVG taunting Austin Hill after Sonoma? Jarrett, you're nodding.
Oh, yes, I did. I love that stuff. The only thing I disliked about that finish and post race and everything was Austin Hill not owning it. Own it, damn it! I want a villain. Be the villain. Don't just like sit there and.
He didn't want to feed the keyboard warriors. He said.
And
he said we've already made up our minds. Jarrett, can you believe this?
But that's the thing. He did. He's feeding us all by not saying that, because now we're going, huh, what a wuss. Like he won't even say anything in an interview where they're going to give him little nice pancake questions that are easy to make.
Austin Hill needs to own it. He needs to be the bad guy, because we'll talk about this more later. There's a chance he could be in a position to take over Kyle Busch's car one day, because he is like the perfect Kyle Busch replacement, in my opinion. He is just like him in a lot of ways.
In this instance, I felt for Austin Hill in this instance. He got used up by Shane Van Gisbergen, but SVG, you could argue, owed him one for how Coda played out at the end of this year. It's debatable. I think it is up for debate. But the image of SVG burning it down as Austin Hill flips him off, that's the kind of stuff NASCAR needs in the 21st century, man. That's what we've been missing all these years. And what did it take? It took a New Zealander, took someone from the Australian Supercar Series to come here, make such an impact that he's under everyone's skin. Maybe not everyone, but he's under some of the top dogs in the Xfinity Series' skin. We saw Austin Hill flipping guys off. No comment. We saw Ty Gibbs doing burnouts after his crash, taking out his teammate or damaging his teammate, Chandler Smith. Everyone losing their damn minds, while Shane Van Gisbergen went on and won another Xfinity Series road course race.
He's just like, happy day, I'm in the lead.
He is like so chill every time you see him. He's always got like his resting face is like a smile. Most of us, when you rest, you're kind of just, I have bad RBF.
He has
not Shane Van Gisbergen.
He has RSF, resting smile face.
Exactly. He's just constantly just. Our Spotify audience is like, what just happened at our stream break?
I didn't get quiet.
Yep. Kiwis in the chat. I see you started that, Jarrett. Good play. Good call. Yeah, chat all over it with the Kiwis. Let's open this up to a bigger question. I know it's just 2 road course wins, but is Shane Van Gisbergen ready for a full-time Cup Series seat? There's rumblings out there.
Heck no. I'm sorry.
Oh, all right. Elaborate, Danny. Elaborate.
I need to see a lot more consistency on the other tracks. He's had solid runs. I need to see consistency. Because I felt like Marcus Ambrose was rushed too much, and he was good at like Bristol. That was it, though.
This would be a good poll, by the way.
Yeah, I'm working on it right now, Jarrett. I'll let you rebut Danny first before I jump all over that.
I'm not going to rebut him. I'm going to kind of be on his side, I think, on this one. I want to see him compete on the ovals. We saw this with Danica Patrick. She had good races before. She had a one-off because of fuel strategy at Vegas. She ran really, really well up in Canada at the road course, but she was rushed up too quickly. I personally think if Danica spent more time in Xfinity and had a normal progression, she could have had I won't say much better career, but a decently better career. And I think SVG is the same way. He's a great talent, and I think honing that talent for another year to get the ovals experience up would be a lot better for him. I mean, look at, for instance, guys who specialize in the ovals, like Noah Gragson. A lot of us forget that I believe it was it 2021? Because I think it was at his win at Richmond, where the argument about Noah Gragson was not, how is he going to do in Cup, or should he moved up? It was, is he even good enough to keep an Xfinity ride with JRM? And he was able to improve over time, and now we saw him as a really good driver to move up, and he's improved in Cup since. And I just, there will be people wanting a Trackhouse ride that you can have a nice little one-off year. You can have your bridge driver until SVG. Like I think they're good enough at selling sponsors. I think they'll put good enough cars out there. It'll still be an attractive ride either way, and it'll be set up ready for him. I mean, just, I don't know, pick someone up. Like Daniel Hemrick seems to find rides. Pick him up off the street for a year and put him in, and then you can just kick him to the curb when you're done with him. Yeah, Zane Smith.
I think Shane Van Gisbergen is ready for the Cup Series. To your earlier point, Jarrett, Marcus Ambrose, you could argue, he was rushed. Danica, you could argue for sure she was definitely rushed. But back in those days, there was way more similarities between the Cup and Xfinity car. There are so few similarities now. They drive completely different. You could argue the Cup car now is very similar to what SVG is used to racing overseas. I just think if you put Shane Van Gisbergen in a Trackhouse seat, which is better than any car Marcus Ambrose drove in his NASCAR Cup Series career, I believe, he's going to run 25th at most of the ovals. He'll contend at the super speedways, and he'll run top 5 at every road course, I believe. That's what I think Shane Van Gisbergen will do next year. I think he'll be AJ Allmendinger. And AJ Allmendinger's had value, I think, the last few years. With this format, you win a road course race, you're in the playoffs. And that's all that bonus money. You're locked into the top 16, owner points, driver points. That's a big deal. And you think about it, AJ Allmendinger hasn't done much on the ovals in his career, but he's won a road course 2 of the last 3 years. Like, I think Shane Van Gisbergen can win a road course every year. Maybe not more than 1, but I think you put him in a Cup car full-time, he'll win a road course. And at this point, because there's so few similarities between the Xfinity and Cup car, if he runs 25th, but over the course of the year gets it up to 20th, maybe 17th, I feel like that's better experience for him. Shane Van Gisbergen's not 25, he's 35. Like, I don't know that it is in his best interest to spend another full year in Xfinity. You kind of got to go. But and he's already proven he can adapt really quickly.
I don't necessarily think it's necessarily the Xfinity to Cup translation as much as it's ovals in general. and there are still similarities, especially at the ovals. I think a driver his caliber, I think unless he is ready, if Justin Mark thinks he's ready, then he'll probably put him up there. But a driver his caliber, I don't see him coming over here just so he can be a road course merchant and run 25th every week. Like, I see him as somebody who, even if it takes that extra year, do it right, get moved up the ranks to like comfortably up, so that instead of kicking it off running 25th every week, you're running maybe 18th to 20th, and you increase that to top 10s, kind of like what he's doing this year with Xfinity, where he has gotten better at ovals. He's running the top 10, not just because of attrition. He's running the top 10 a little bit more because of speed. Next step, run the top 5, compete for some wins. I want to see him win at, like, I don't know, like New Hampshire or somewhere that it does still take talent, but is a way different driving style than a road course.
I don't think another year in Xfinity will catch SVG up on ovals all that much. It won't hurt, but I don't think it'll catch him up that quickly. That's why I feel, since he can already win a cup race at a road course, just put him in a cup car and let him run 25th. I feel like that'll be more educational. I don't think he's the type of guy. We just talked about how he's smiling all the time. I don't think that's going to kill his confidence. I think he's motivated, excited, invested in trying to make this happen. So I think they could make it work. If he goes cup racing next year, he's already been impressive at the ovals. He got a 3rd at Atlanta, 6th at Phoenix. There was some attrition there. He was 15th at Darlington. Colleague hasn't been great this year. Allmendinger doesn't look that great. Josh Williams has not looked very good. Like, he's, I think, exceeded expectations even on ovals this year. So I think they could make it work. I think he could make it work. Would it be perfect? No, but I think they could make it work.
SVG is just, he's one of those guys that, like, he's one of those talents that I want to protect him at all costs, because I'm scared to see him go up and look like how Josh Berry seemed this year, look like how Justin Allgaier's Cup career was, look like, whatever. There are some guys that, like,
not just, it was Zane Smith,
this year. And it's like you hate to see some guys like stay in the lower series, but at the same time, think of some guys down low at this point. Who won the Truck Series championship last year? I'm blanking on his name now. Ben Rhodes. Ben Rhodes is a guy like. Ben Rhodes is like, I want to see you advance, but at the same time, you're where you're probably best at. And I don't know what your end game is right now. Yeah.
I think there's no wrong answer for SVG next year. I think he'll be competitive in both. I think he'll continue to improve in both. But if there's a seat for him in Cup and there's money there to back him up, I could absolutely see him doing it, and I wouldn't be opposed to the idea. We've just reached the first hour mark, our first Super Chat stage break, gentlemen, and I'll actually end this poll. Our poll is almost exactly 50-50.
Nice.
52% say yes, he is ready for the Cup Series, but really close. Thank you all for voting on that. That was a good debate, good argument. It sounds like we split the chat pretty evenly down the line. With that being said,
almost to our like goal.
Yeah, we are, man. Chat is killing it tonight. I'm going to read a few super chats off here. Jarrett will keep track of the time. We'll start off with Garabuki, who sent a very generous 20, saying, if you ever feel worthless or like you'll amount to nothing, just remember that there are people who will comment on Jarrett's poll every week to say they stopped watching NASCAR X years ago. See, you're doing pretty great, Kings. Thank you. Thank you for that motivational comment, Garabuki. That puts a smile on my face. Really appreciate the support. Kyle sent a super chat at the beginning of the show saying, lick the like button. It's 100% free, and we don't want to heart them beg. I don't know what that meant. Don't want to hear them beg. Probably doesn't want to hear us beg. We do sometimes beg for likes. I know it's unbecoming. Thank you, Kyle, for taking care of that for us so we don't have to make fools of ourselves every single week. Do appreciate that. Palm Tree, thank you for the 5. Great weekend for us keyboard warriors. Got to watch Temper Tantrum Ty show up and also got to watch SVG wave. Wow, I can't read this full nickname, but he's got a creative nickname here for Austin Hill. While Austin Hill cried alongside. So yes, big win for the keyboard warriors this week. Ross Chastain, I mentioned this one earlier, apologizing to Kyle Busch for what happened the last lap at Sonoma. Jonathan Fitzgerald says, Denny Hamlin, sorry, Danny. Denny Hamlin said in his podcast that according to SMT, Busch was already stumbling during the Chastain incident. So he may not have made it on fuel even with the issue. It would have been borderline for sure. Bobby Blair, hey guys, I'm a little late. Have we discussed MTJ's future yet? you're just in time, Bobby. Actually, he sent the super chat like 20 minutes ago, but you're just in time because right after the lightning round, I believe that is one of our next topics. NASCARson, great to see you. Sonoma in person. Cup race was exciting at the start. Then Larson wins again with a boring finish. Xfinity, the first half was boring, then got exciting with Rex and a great racing finish. Fans love SVG. I love his rugby ball celebration. I think that's really clever. I love that all the Trackhouse guys have signature moves. Another one from NASCARson, NWP. Anyone going to Iowa this weekend? I will be there to witness the inaugural Cup Series race since it's less than 5 hours away.
I will not be there. I'll be seeing former Iowa great Caitlin Clark playing for the Indiana Fever this weekend.
We hit 500.
That's exciting. 5 already. I'm not even done with the first super chat stage break. What are
you
doing?
Make it 700 on this channel from now on.
Should have. That's you guys.
750.
Wow.
We all like 750.
Yes. 1 like equals 1 horsepower, please. I'm gonna do just 3 more super chats here in this opening super chat stage break. Blake, thank you for the 5. Hey Danny B, I got a neat video of a train while on vacation. Would you like me to send it to you? And he also says
I love all train videos. Put it on Twitter and at me so I can see it.
Love that. And he also says, I agree, Mike Joy was much better this year. I think we all agree there. Garibuki with another 5. I feel bad for the few cameramen who are capturing the race for the lead. Then the production team cuts away from it. Both good, booth good, production awful. Yeah, I would say it's more direct. Production, maybe direction. You have to distinguish, I guess, between the two, but I get what they're saying. And then I'll do one more here before we get rolling with the second half of the show. This one comes from Gavin. If Truex retires this year, do you think he stays in the sport, maybe taking a management role at JGR, or do you think he leaves the sport altogether?
He leaves for a hunting stand.
Yeah, I feel he won't be super active at the racetrack. That's just my theory. He'll appear for big events like, commemorating the 100 greatest drivers or Hall of Fame inductions and things, but that's about it.
I've said forever that Truex, once he's done racing, needs to be the first former NASCAR driver to make a run at the Bassmaster Elite Series.
Ooh.
He'll go to the Daytona 500, but just to fish on Lake Lloyd.
That'd be funny if he just went undercover, and just nobody even noticed it was him until they got close enough.
It's like
That'd
that clip
funny.
of Noah Gragson where he went up to Kyle Busch in an autograph line. He's like, "Hi, I'd like you to sign this," and it's like, "By the way, can I touch your hair?" And then he turns around and it's Noah.
That was classic. Thank you all for sending in those super chats. We've got a few more, but we will get to those at the end of the show. I promise. Really appreciate the support. Gentlemen, we are officially ready for the second half of the show. A lot of good stuff still yet to come. But first, we got to brave this weather alert we just got on my phone here. Not sure if y'all's is buzzing as well, but I think, Jarrett, this means it's time for the lightning round.
You already got struck.
Oh, gosh, I didn't duck in time.
All right, first up from the Spotify crowd, we got the poll here. Most likely to reach the round of 12 this year. 28% say Daniel Suarez, 72% say Austin Cindric. I think we can.
I would agree with Cindric.
Yeah.
Thing is as much as either of them could, they very easily couldn't either.
I don't expect either to make it,
so
but I'll give them a shot.
This is a very stern heavy lightning round this week.
Stern.
Hy-Vee EVP Anna Stormer says recently she was quoted in saying that basically the goal for Hy-Vee was always to get a NASCAR Cup race at Iowa. Like that was the main goal through their IndyCar sponsorship.
The quote was really heinous, and I don't mean any disrespect to our IndyCar friends and fans out there, but their comment was along the lines of, "Yeah, we've always been excited about getting a big event out here at Iowa Speedway." It's like why not?
Damn,
the IndyCar races are pretty big. I mean, just come on.
Yeah, I'd argue that the IndyCar race this year, with who they got act wise, is going to be bigger than the Cup race. I would argue that.
Yeah.
Also, for those who go to Costco, they now have a deal. I don't know which locations, but it might be select ones. But that customers can buy a little plaque, basically, that is 2 tickets in the 100 level with 2 fan zone passes to the Coke 0400 for $270 total.
So it's probably going to be more local to Florida. I don't know about the fan zone passes, but I know our local Costco here in the Nashville area, you can go there and buy a thing to get tickets to the Nashville Super Speedway races.
Yeah, that's become a thing. NASCAR tickets at Costco. I think even F1 did that for the Austin race.
They did it first.
Yeah.
And little known life hack, if you can go to Costco, look every now and again, they have gift card deals where you can get like like $100 value to a restaurant for like $75 somehow. So looking at that.
Not bad.
Costco's clutch, not gonna lie.
Last couple things here. IndyCar is finalizing their 2025 deal with Fox Sports for their media rights. And based on the rumor, at least from what I saw David saying, apparently Fox is just going to have the entire season on Big Fox.
Yeah, I heard somewhere that they, like, NBC was proposing every race on broadcast TV and Fox wasn't, and then that changed. Like, Fox suddenly said, hey, we'll sweeten the deal with network TV, and that's big for IndyCar. You know, say what you will about Fox, that kind of exposure, call it old-fashioned, that's a big deal for a series like that.
But I also think they know what those numbers are. They know it's going to need every way they can to help it.
I just know that NASCAR fans, I we'll hear about it now, but I guarantee NASCAR fans next year will be like, why the hell do we have 5 NASCAR races on Big Fox, but we have 17 IndyCar races?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because NASCAR wanted more and made more concessions.
But we have to watch a UFL game with like 45% capacity.
I can't wait till that league goes under. This one, I'll admit I put in off my own bias, but our buddy Chase, who's over with Dirty Mo now, had put it out that, you know, he talked about last year and had backed it up, and now he's in the IndyCar paddock and a lot more, and said that basically like Chicagoland back in 25 if the street course doesn't, but he added it won't only be NASCAR coming back if that happens next year.
If they double it up with IndyCar, I'm sold on that ticket. Now, if it's separate weekends, I'd still like to see an IndyCar race there, but that's interesting.
I'll say this because I know that especially our, you know, esteemed buddy Dave Moody likes to always point out how nobody went to those races. And there's a few, I'll just say, as a paying ticket holder, there's a few reasons, but one of them was the fact that in the 2010s, until they stopped racing there in the 2000s, you could not buy infield and in a lot of ways grandstand tickets to Chicagoland for NASCAR races or IndyCar races without buying the other. They made you buy all of the weekend's tickets. I remember it always annoyed my grandpa because we always had something going on the weekend of the IndyCar race. So they made us buy tickets to an extra weekend for the one weekend we went to, and people just stopped. I know a lot of people that were around us just stopped going because it's like, I'm not paying an extra $300 for a weekend that I don't need to go to in a 2009-10 economy or whatever it was, whichever year. So
interesting. Makes sense.
Side note, hearing you say Dave Moody, I got to ask, are you talking about Dave Moody? Or are you talking about Karrion Kross from WWE? Or are you talking about Twitter itself or X? Or are you talking about just Dot? Because his Twitter got hacked. He's changed so many times a day.
Oh, no.
I didn't know that.
It originally got changed.
Like, where are we going with this?
It originally got changed to mimic Karrion Kross, a WWE wrestler. I don't know why it got changed to that. So now Dave Moody's old Twitter account is now at Karrion_WWE. It did have a profile picture changed to the X logo and just had the X like icon. Now it's no icon, no banner, and it's just Dot as the name on it. And it's actually associated now. It is a yellow check mark on this Twitter account now, and I don't know who it goes to, but it goes to some company. Like they had like 1 follower, so it was some kind of scam company.
That sucks.
Yikes.
But hey,
be aware, folks.
Even with more people getting hacked, at least I can be down bad in my likes now.
Yeah, likes going private.
I loved what Moonhead said earlier. He's like, I'm going to like so much offensive stuff now.
Oh, God. Same. Anyway, next week, by the way, just letting everybody know right now, we'll be on Danny's channel. And I put his name down this week. Last time it was a preview for Danny's channel. I left my name on it. Sorry, Danny. But 8 p.m. Eastern time, June 19th. So. Nice. But yeah, that's the lightning round. I'm going to strike Eric one more time. There you go. Ah! There he goes. He's no life. No, you got meh.
Yeah. Let's keep it rolling, boys. This is going to be a chunky segment we're about to try and break down here, but we will get to Martin Truex Jr. and other silly season speculation shortly. First, let's talk about the latest NASCAR charter negotiation news. There were a couple articles on Monday, one from the Associated Press, Jenna Fryer. The other was ESPN. How about that, with Ryan McGee writing, both sort of updating where NASCAR charter talks are at. And the Fryer article in particular stated that the teams are unhappier than ever with the latest proposal. They claim that it rolls back things that NASCAR had previously offered. It now allows the France family to potentially purchase charters. It still doesn't make the charter system permanent. A lot of things they don't like. Denny Hamlin said on his podcast recently, they are potentially still months away from getting a deal done. Gentlemen, this is June of 2024. Remember last year when we did this same episode 1 year ago? Remember what the chatter was? Man, they need to get a deal done by the end of 2023. We can't go into 2024 without a deal done. It is June of 2024, and it sounds like both sides are as far apart as ever. I know there's a ton here. I don't even really know what question to ask. Like, do you think NASCAR has a strategy behind their latest sort of strong arm proposal? Is this them flexing their muscle, saying, hey, you have no leverage? Can we assume that? I don't know. Jarrett, do you have any thoughts on some of these latest headlines?
I mean, I still think based on what they're saying and the rumors too, that there's smaller teams who are just willing to bite and take it.
Yeah.
NASCAR has successfully broken up whatever, don't call it, they won't call themselves a union because they're not technically that, but what union of teams they had,
the alliance, it's the race team alliance. Effectively
they have busted it a little bit.
It sounds like it. Yes.
The smaller teams, I think they see blood in the water. I mean, if you're front row, Rick Ware, whoever, well, yeah, of course you're going to take a deal that Hendrick and Gibbs and 2311 aren't going to go at, and they might skip races or whatever. Like, of course you're going to take that. You'll get ahead. You'll get more money out of it. You'll probably get better perks from NASCAR, probably be viewed better by those running NASCAR who totally wouldn't have bias to put their finger on the scale. I don't blame them for going for that. I think we're reaching a point, though, that you're going into a brand new media deal. And you're going into a new deal, too, that gets, in the short term at least, you in front of less eyes on your broadcasts when it comes to more races on cable, less races on network. Streaming in the short term is going to be a short-term loss and for the hope of a long-term gain. So right now is the worst possible time to be having these kind of issues back and forth. And it sounds like it is those, at first we thought, well, Denny Hamlin will be upset, or maybe like Justin Marks, these new age ones. But it sounds like it's the old ones, the old guard that like a Penske.
Hendrick's not super happy. Gibbs not super happy. Yeah. It sounds like only some of the smaller teams, front row being the most notable, seem to be relatively okay, like content with what's being offered. Because let's remember, with the new TV and media agreements, overall revenue is going to be up something like 40%. So let's say the percentages, the teams and tracks and NASCAR split the pie the same way they do now. That's still roughly a 40% increase in revenue for the teams next year. That's nothing to scoff at. Is that as much as they should be getting? That's debatable. That's absolutely debatable. Is NASCAR, still being too stingy? That's absolutely possible. Are they being petty now by suggesting that the France family can also own charters? They already own the series. They own IMSA, ARCA, half the tracks.
I believe they own the France family. I believe owns a team in IMSA, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they do, and they have. I mean, I understand what they say. Oh well, there's precedent. Penske owns the series and a team.
And they hate it over there.
And a lot of folks criticize it or question it. You think people are claiming NASCAR is rigged now? Wait until any perceived advantage is given to the France-owned race team or charter. You just never know. Like, why open yourself up to that kind of criticism?
There's only one team who should be allowed to be this petty, and that's Legacy.
They've earned it. It's in their name, petty. But yeah, I don't really know what to make of this. I agree with your take, Jarrett, that NASCAR has successfully broken up the alliance of race teams. They don't all fully agree. That's always been NASCAR's greatest strength. I think both sides do need each other to some degree. People saying, oh, the team should all just go start their own series. Ask Tony Stewart how that worked out. He had a deal with CBS and ESPN, and even they couldn't make money work 3 years in.
Ask the IndyCar guys over there how that went.
Exactly. How did their split end up?
Death of stock car racing in any mainstream light in America.
Exactly. It would crater. And I mean, even NASCAR from their end, if they try to scramble and put together a Daytona 500 with a bunch of different race teams, yes, people will still tune in because it's the Daytona 500. The NASCAR brand is powerful, but their ratings will take a huge hit with no Chase Elliott, no, Kyle Larson, none of these stars in the field. Their ratings will take a hit. NASCAR themselves will have to rebuild. It will be bad for everyone. Nobody can completely survive or get away scot-free without the other. So ultimately, they are going to have to come to some sort of agreement. It's hard for me to tell without seeing everyone's specific financials who's being the most unreasonable. The teams should get more money than they've been getting. They are in a more precarious position. Stuart Haas just went out of business. Like I talked to, I have a podcast coming out with Brennan Poole, and he made a great comment earlier this week when I talked to him that you don't shut down a profitable business. You can say that Gene Haas, Tony Stewart were no longer interested. The truth is, if that business was profitable, they wouldn't have shut it down.
They'd find a way.
So that's a problem that NASCAR needs to address. One of their star teams is shutting down. That does not look good. That does not bode well for the future of the industry. That proves that the teams are in very precarious positions. So they need more money. They might have to agree to a cost cap or something else, but that's where I hope both sides can not be unreasonable and eventually come to some sort of agreement. Because like I said on my show this week, we're in June. This feels like we're in the red zone. Like I'm now officially concerned. Up to this point, I wasn't all that concerned. I'm like, they'll get a deal done. It might get ugly, but they'll get a deal done. Now I'm not actually sure. I feel like there's the nuclear codes are on the table, if you will. There's a button someone could press that blows this whole thing up.
But I will say this too. All it takes to me is one superpower team folding for the others to fall in line, because you can't fall behind it if you do get it signed. I think that if Hendrick jumps at it for whatever reason, if they all come to blows and then they're the ones that jump at it, I see Gibbs and the others jumping on it. I think the only one I could truly see as it is now, with how vocal they've been, with how outside the box they are, pulling out or going on strike, if you will, would be 2311. That's the only one I can see at the moment doing that. But I can see others making demonstrations. 2311 is the only one I think that has the stones to actually go ahead and do that.
They are the most vocal. Who knows? Danny, do you have a take on what the latest drama here is?
No, nothing more than what's been said already. It's getting ridiculous. I wish we could find a way to just get past this conversation. Honestly, like we shouldn't have to speculate too much on it. This is, let's talk about the transparency of driver salaries and crew chief salaries and stuff like that. That's what I wish we could talk more about, because that sounds more fun than having to deal with the values of teams and their charters.
Yeah, this is the exact opposite. There's no transparency here. Like for a while, the two sides couldn't even agree on what the percentages meant. And so it's like, how can we tell who's being unreasonable when we don't actually know the true financial state? Yeah, because people will say,
what they say in the media too,
these teams are losing money, then why do they all live in mansions? It's like, well, how do you explain that? Let's talk, like, can we see?
Well, hold on. I mean, hey, if you're not making enough money at your job, or you lost your job, how are you still living in your house? So it's like, well, they obviously are smart enough to have plans beforehand. But looking to it, what they say in the media, I mean, Jeff Gordon is the one who seemed like super positive, hunky-dory, like, we're going to get this done, guys. Don't worry about it. Look at this. Whereas like Rick Hendrick is the one, it sounds like, who's the one who's more pissed off by it and doesn't like the deal. And so you even have the strife between each other. Nobody but the France family is on the same page here. That's what I've gathered from all of this. The France family knows what they want. They're the ones on the aggression. They're the ones taking the more aggressive deal, which they can ask for a charter. They can ask for X, Y, and Z. They're doing this. In my opinion, what the France family is doing is smart business if it works out. If it doesn't work out, it's bad on all fronts. But if it works out, it's smart. Because
if they push too hard and it all blows up, it's bad business. But up to that point, it is smart business. It's aggressive, strong business.
Well, they have the advantage with a group that outside of 2311, again, frankly, is probably not used to these kind of waters, these kind of uncharted waters, if you will. They're asking for more, and I guarantee they know they won't get it all from the teams, but they're going to get more than they would have otherwise from them. In my opinion, NASCAR is the one that is leading this thing. Like at first we were thinking the teams had it. Like early in the year, the teams seemed a lot more uniform. They seemed like they knew what they wanted.
I would have said it was more even then. I think NASCAR, because of the 76 years of history, the France family being solely, I think it's always been tipped in their favor, but the teams were closer to even than they are now. I agree. It's out of whack. NASCAR has the leverage. It hinges on what they do.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we can kind of go into a little bit what they're asking here. I mean,
Well,
they're asking.
yeah,
for
we
cost
can.
caps.
I was kind of agreeing with Danny. I'm kind of ready to move on because I mean, there's not. I mean, I'm checking the notes because there is just so much here. Like the NASCAR is willing to allow private firms to invest in charters, which I'm sure for some teams
That
that's probably a good thing for them. They're probably
that
happy
could
about
that
that.
could work well with the money side of things. I mean,
Yeah.
NASCAR could have that. I guarantee. I know. I guarantee you what NASCAR's thinking is on that is if somebody comes in, or that these teams can have people come in, one, that take a little power away from the teams themselves that might be on NASCAR's side, but two, can give them enough money they don't have to worry about sponsorship and TV money as much. NASCAR can keep some more of that pie that they otherwise wouldn't have. Try and strong arm them into that. It also could lead maybe to more single season sponsors if that were to work, though they'd probably just use the money for anything else. But I mean, the newest offer, there was no mention of the 3-team cap for charters.
There's nothing reported in it, yeah, which could still be in there, but there was no mention of it, which is an interesting fact. I just go back to teams say it's the worst offer they've received yet. NASCAR is now rolling back some previous concessions, which just tells me they're saying, hey, enough is enough. Take it or leave it. We're done here. We're not going to keep doing this with you guys. And I get the team's frustration. I don't know who's being unreasonable. I think NASCAR is, like you said, Jarrett, being more aggressive now because they realize finally they have the power, they have the leverage. We'll see where it goes. We will see where it goes.
Last thing I'll add is I think that if you see somebody in the next month or so buy a charter, I think that speaks volumes to where that team and any team around them is probably thinking it's going. If they're buying a charter, I think they're going to think something's going to happen. I think Front Row is bought in. Like, just because they're the ones that all the teams are looking at as like the ugly stepchild here. If like RCR buys a charter, scoops one up, then I think there's starting more to skew towards it'll happen. But if there's no charter bought up by like the playoffs, like I think that we need to go red alert time.
Yeah, there will come. We're in the red zone now. We'll be on the 1 yard line, goal line stand at some point. But like Danny said earlier, I do feel like it's probably best we move on. This conversation can be headache inducing after a while. I think this one's a little more fun. Let's talk some silly season speculation. Let's talk Martin Truex Jr. We've teased this quite a bit. We got a super chat about it earlier, but Martin Truex Jr. could very well be in his final NASCAR Cup Series season. He hasn't made a decision. Nobody knows exactly what's going on in his head, but he keeps kicking the can further and further down the road every single year. It sounds like Joe Gibbs Racing is pressuring him to making a decision earlier this season because of how many quality free agents are available. Gibbs wants to have a chance to sign some of them. Right now, they don't know if they can be in the running for a Chase Briscoe, let's just say, because they don't know what Martin Truex Jr. is going to decide. Let's start there. Danny, do you think Martin Truex Jr. retires at the end of this year, or do you think he's back for another season?
I think he finally retires. And I don't know if I'll get a chance to be the one to ask this. I'll probably get beat to it. I'm sure I'll get asked about it this weekend, even by the media. But at Nashville Super Speedway, that's typically when I think we've usually found out a yes or no answer.
That's a deadline this year.
We did 2 years ago, was around June. Last year he waited until August.
Well, they said it was a Nashville week.
That's the rumor, is that he has until the end of this month.
If they do those media times during the weekend, and if I'm there, if no one's beat me to it, I'll probably just ask him straight up, like, Martin, are we seeing you next year? Just straight up like that. Don't have to tell me, are you racing for this team? Are we seeing you next year?
Yeah, I think he's still a really good driver. Obviously, top 5 in the regular season standings still, even though he does not have a win. Like, he could keep racing and still be in that championship hunt for another year or two. I think so. Even with James Small, which everyone was dunking on earlier, no matter who's crew chiefing that 19, Truex and Gibbs equipment is still a championship contender. But at the same time, he is the oldest full-time driver. I get it. If he wants to retire, I totally get it. He's a Hall of Famer, 34 wins, 2017 champion, a couple of Xfinity titles back in the day.
Peter in the chat. MTJ has a press conference on Friday.
Oh, there we go. That's
I didn't get a chance to ask him.
Yeah, that might just have been added to the docket. How about that?
I think he comes back personally. I know that probably makes it sound like he doesn't, but I think there's unfinished business. I think whether it's Daytona 500, whether it's another championship, whether it's just to shut people up I think that there's some stuff still on the table. So I would have thought a couple years, 2 years ago when he was falling off more and more and more every single year that, the time has come, like we got to get to it. But the last 2 or so years, outside of the collapse in the playoffs, he has been probably a top 5 driver week in and week out. I think speed wise, I mean, you just see the metrics that people put out, like our buddy Auto Racing Analytics puts out metrics. He's always in the top 5 for speed. There's no real signs of aging. If anything, he's gotten better with the next gen car, and the competition is, I would still say, while overall talent wise probably up from 2-3 years ago, results wise the competition is down compared to what it was before. So the time for him to win a second championship is, like, the window, if you will, is this year, next year. To me, that's it. I think next year it's one last hurrah, one last shot at it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You put it all out.
Yeah, I just hope that if he does make the decision to retire at the end of this year, I do hope the decision is made publicly within the next couple of weeks, because Kevin Harvick made this point on his podcast this week, and it's a good one. I want the fans to have a chance to celebrate Truex the second half of this year. He may not love the spotlight, but I think he's, like I said, he's a future Hall of Famer. I want to see some fanfare around his final 2 dozen races. There's other great, like Matt Kenseth, my guy, didn't really get that. He waited until the third to last race of the 2017 season to formally announce that, hey, I'm not coming back next year. And I know he came. Carl Edwards is the most glaring example.
What is it with that 19 car?
19 car, man. It's Gibbs drivers, man. They just wake up one day and it's not happening. I don't know.
I know as a Dale Jr. fan, if he had announced, like, I don't know what this, like, if he announced at Daytona in 2017, this is my last year. Like, I know as a fan, like, I was at least able to go to Chicagoland later in the year. I would have seen him. But I was a fan, if I was there the week before and he didn't say anything about it and no one had a clue, and then I found out, like, wow, that was the last time I saw Junior, and, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't take it in that way. I know as a fan, I'd feel cheated. Like, just personally, I would. That's like when Matt Kenseth came back in that crappy 6 car in 2018. I was hyped. I didn't care that it was the 6 car at that time. I was just like, he's back. I finally get some closure. He's back with Roush, closure. Like, Truex announcing it in June, that if this is his final year, at least fans will get some of that closure. And he could walk off with the championship. He hasn't won a race in a while, but he's always in the mix. He could win the championship this year. He's not a dark horse. He's probably one of these 6 or 8 favorites to win the title this year. Like that would be a pretty crazy ending to what's been a very remarkable career.
We talk about, you hate it for the Matt Kenseth fans, the way that, had to see him go out. Hate it for Edwards fans, the way he went out. Hate it for the Truex fans. You know who I hate it for? I hate it for Casey Kane fans and how they had to see him go out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, the injury, not injuries, I guess, but the health conditions, keeping him out of the car.
And he was in a subpar car at the end.
Yeah. No, that's a good comparison.
And Martin Truex Jr.'s whole career, he has been overlooked and overshadowed. Like, it was only until he finally straight up dominated a season, which, again, I went back through NASCAR history, at least to 75, because once you go further back, it's just so diluted at that point.
Oof, we've got a Casey Kane and Carl Edwards fan in the chat. Cade,
sorry, Cade.
But since 75, and this is something that needs to be recognized. I know they would have raced differently, hypothetical, blah, 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 buzzword. Martin Truex Jr.'s 2017 season is the only season in that span that would have won the championship under every single points format since 1975. That is damn impressive. The consistency, the winning, even
Larson's 2021, that shocks me.
Yeah,
wow.
I can't remember which system. I might actually be every single NASCAR system now that I think about it. I think I did go that far back.
Good for Truex.
Like, that should be celebrated. Like, you could argue, even though it wasn't statistically at Gordon or Petty or Johnson,
the greatest championship season in NASCAR history.
Argue that. And nobody thinks. They all look back at Larson. Like, they look back at Larson. They look back at Jimmy. Martin Truex Jr. was insane that season. And, like, nobody puts that up on the pedestal with the greatest seasons ever compared to. They talk about Gordon in the 90s. They talk about Jimmy's 5 straight. They talk about Kyle Larson.
I don't think people discredit. I think the 2017 title is
No, I
still
said they
talked about quite
overlook it.
I think it's overlooked maybe a little from a statistical standpoint, but people look back at that and say, wow, Furniture Row, a Denver, Colorado-based team, won the title up
A
against. I know
team
they
that
got
was
help from
literally
Gibbs,
like
but
failing to qualify for some races in
a
the
team
past.
that 3 years earlier was, I think Truex's first year in that 78, he ran like 20th every week, didn't he? Like he wasn't, I don't think he made the playoffs that first year. Or
Well,
maybe
No,
he
he was
did.
awful.
he did get a win his first year.
No, he was 2014. He was
Yeah.
terrible. He
Oh,
was
then
like
20 and
28
then
oh, wait,
points.
sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Well, but then 2015 they turned it around and didn't they make the championship four in
Yep.
15?
They made
They
it
weren't
in,
even with
yeah.
Toyota yet.
Yeah.
Like that's where Cole Pern, I
That
think,
was
started to work his magic as well.
that was a definition of like the Titans. They were last in AFC South last year, and that they could somehow win the AFC South, it'd be like that right there.
No, that's the
Keep
Carolina
dreaming,
Panthers
Danny.
winning the Super Bowl.
This year.
Like
Yeah,
that's the pendulum swing over that amount of time.
Well, I don't mean to cut you guys off. I mean, we can kind of continue this conversation, but I want to ask if Truex does retire, which, everyone's kind of split. Nobody knows what's exactly going to happen. Who gets the 19? There have been reports that Chase Briscoe could be a top candidate. Jarrett, you've talked about how Bass Pro is linked to Noah Gragson, could go with him or to whatever team. There's a connection there. Eric Jones was mentioned this past week by Bob Pockrass, I believe, first, which would be very interesting. There could be other drivers. I've heard Josh Berry's name brought up. Could that be where the Rodney Childers pairing ends up? Who knows?
Spencer and Danielle Trotta brought up Kyle Busch.
Yeah, but give us the full context there, Jarrett, because it was kind of like
an option year. And it depends on when Truex retires, but that Busch would be with it as an option would be first in line to go back to Gibbs.
Here's my thought. Even if it's not Kyle Busch, I think get rid of the 19 altogether and bring back the 18 because that is their flagship number. That's what they started with. That car needs to be back on the track.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think the Kyle Busch rumor is interesting, but Busch does have a contract with RCR. Now, RCR has the option. The only way I could see RCR choosing to not exercise that option and make Kyle Busch a free agent is if Truex retires, let's say, and Bass Pro Shops throws all that extra money behind Noah Gragson to the point that, with all due respect to future Hall of Famer Kyle Busch, Noah Gragson is too good of a deal to pass up on. That Austin Dillon's probably not going anywhere next year. So they put Gragson in the 8. They release Busch from his contract, and then maybe he goes to Gibbs with Kroger sponsorship. Because remember, with Chad Geschechter leaving JTG, he's got ties to the Kroger Racing brand. That could be a connection there.
I'm going to say one thing that people are going to hate to hear it, but I do think Austin Hill is good enough to be in the Cup Series. He needs to be in a Cup Series ride.
I think he would be good enough. Yeah, there's a lot.
I said it wrong, Austin. I meant Austin Hill. I don't know if I said Dylan, but I meant Austin
Hill. No, I get you.
You said. I'll say this about the Busch thing. The only other way I could see it happening is if Truex stays another year. Busch will be a free agent after 25 unless he resigns.
I guess that's true. If you want to wait another year,
that could make it easier. I still give it like a 5% at most chance of happening. I think that's the wild card. But let's be honest. This time in 2022, we thought Kyle Busch was going to be in the 18 for another 3 years. So crazier things have happened. I'm not saying it will. If I'm guessing, I'm going Chandler Smith at the moment. Just as somebody in the pipeline who they probably can sell sponsorship for. He's not somebody who's going to be out on a limb. He's a Gibbs driver. Like he's someone you can easily sell to a sponsor, even if he does go out there and be a little outspoken at times.
There's also, has there been any confirmation that Denny Hamlin won't try to do something on his own?
No,
I think
I somewhat like the idea of Denny, if he wants to get another charter, him race for his own team, take the number 11 over to his team, and just keep that, and then Gibbs brings back the 18, and he can keep the 19.
I don't see Gibbs giving up the 11 because it
has sentimental meaning.
I know it has sentimental value, but at the same time, Denny's really made that his own.
Yeah. Do you think they'll let Denny run Roman numerals on his car next year?
I almost don't think Denny would want it just because of the sentimental value, because it was JD who gave him that shot. But that is the interesting aspect to look at too. And depending how pissed off, if Gibbs goes, the thing is, if Gibbs goes on the charter talk again, goes with NASCAR's offer and Denny's against it, I could totally see him being like, screw this, I'll go with my team. Like, I don't have a full-time sponsor anymore. They blow up. We blow up or crash every time it's there. Sorry,
I would be shocked. I mean, Denny is probably the most brash. Maybe that's not even the right word. He's just the most outspoken Cup driver currently, but I don't think he leaves Gibbs after this season. I think he's
But
locked up there.
Then again, like Russ McCollum, he said Denny has said that he won't leave JGR if they're still winning. I mean, I'll just ask y'all this: at the end of 2020, even with the rest of the team winning, him not, would you have ever expected Jimmy Johnson to be owning and running his own car one day? What?
Yeah.
And granted, sadly didn't have enough time to see it play out, but who knows that Dale Earnhardt wouldn't have entertained the idea one day of driving his own car. You know, we'll never know.
I think overall, the thing I think we need to keep in mind is, while this is not the biggest silly season, and the last couple haven't been, I'd say 07, 22, like those kind of years are probably the biggest. NASCAR silly season, I think at this point, has gotten so much more wild of stuff that could happen because of how volatile the entire market is, both on the charter side, the sponsor side, the driver side. So like those crazy things that could happen, like I'm not ruling them out anymore.
No, this is
5 years ago I would have.
There's so many things happening at the same time this year.
I'm rolling this prediction out from Eric McAlpine, and Harrison Burton retires and goes into the Hall of Fame.
You have to wait 3 years to be eligible, but yes, no. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. It really is. Who knew that Martin Truex Jr.'s decision, which kind of just comes and goes every year, is now potentially a huge catalyst in the remainder of this year's silly season.
It's like American debt. We just keep kicking it down the road. Eventually we'll get there, but eventually, we're just going to keep kicking it.
Well, in the United States of NASCAR, it does seem like everything's blowing up all at once. We've got a lot. There's a lot going on. On that note, I think we made it to some of our fun segments. We did hit our 500 like goal, so thank you, chat, as always, for your very great support. We will do the random driver segment next after Jarrett takes us through the accountability segment.
All right, so we got our predictions. Here's what we got. Of course, each host makes up to 3 NASCAR motorsports or show-related predictions. We do not count them until they're official, so you will not see any IndyCar deal news predictions that we had before. We keep track each week, right or wrong, and try to keep them concise, 2-3 years generally, just so that we're not tracking stuff a decade from now. And again, concise so that I'm not trying to have to decipher when we look at them right and wrong. Like, well, it could be right, could be wrong. As for the accountability here, on my end, I got one right and one wrong. I said both the Cup and Xfinity races at Sonoma would end at their scheduled distances. They did. No overtime. I also said Ty Gibbs would score a win before NBC came back, and I was wrong.
Close a couple times. He won an open race, but yeah.
It would be my luck he'd win this week. Eric, you got 2 right and 1 wrong.
I had a big weekend.
Yes, you said Cam Waters and Will Brown would finish outside of the top 15 at Sonoma.
Hey, Will Brown was really strong on Friday and, well, Saturday until electrical issues, and even Sunday until electrical issues. But I want to see him in a Cup car again.
The one I think you're alluding to the strong week was Fox Sports ending their 2024 run with a year-over-year increase. First time ever they've increased, even though the Daytona 500 was rained out. You also
said
I
was so close to a clean sweep. Damn it, Chastain.
Kyle Busch finishing top 5. You were wrong. And Danny, last week you had the most come off the board. This week, nothing came off the board.
Yep.
So
kicking the can down the road.
So as for our standings, I am leading still at 35.71%. Eric is at a clean 3rd correct so far this year, and Danny's still at 26.47%.
I'm glad I'm doing better at random driver because I suck at this.
One way or another, one of us is doing better when it comes to whatever.
I'm just mid at everything.
Or consistent. We'll put the spin on it.
Thank you. All right.
Best average finish.
I'll lead us off on the prediction side of things. I don't know. I told you guys I had 6 predictions I put on my possibilities just in case.
Oh gosh, came prepared. All right, what's your first one?
I think that Kyle Busch will. Has someone made the prediction he'll miss the playoffs? Because if so, I'll put it up on the board.
I don't know if one of us have, to be honest.
Then I'll do that one. Kyle Busch will miss the playoffs.
All right. Okay. My first prediction, my first two predictions I'll get to are both very going to be very Iowa Speedway centric. I think the Xfinity race on a repave is going to hit at least 8 cautions on Saturday.
Coming into this weekend, it is NBC's first race of the year, and I'm going to say that they are going to hit over 3.25 million viewers for the first Cup Series race at Iowa.
Is it on USA this week or at Big NBC?
I think it's USA, so I'm going to be really bold on that.
That's a big
That
number
is
for
bold.
USA, but it is USA.
But it's this track's very first Cup Series race, and we're starting fresh with a new thing. Maybe people who got burned out by Fox will say, I'm going to give this company a chance.
Yep.
Well, as for my second one, I'll go a little forward to a really big weekend coming up, Chicago Street Race weekend. I think that the new Bears quarterback, Caleb Williams, will be at least one of the races in the Chicago Street Race weekend. And for everybody's sake on Twitter, hopefully he does not paint his nails for that.
He was at the Clash at the Coliseum 2 years ago when he was at USC.
That's true.
And my Sooner fiance was there too. You know, she's not exactly a big USC fan at this point in her life, but she was conflicted. She was conflicted when she saw Caleb Williams.
Don't say anything too mean about him. He'll go crying to his mommy.
Yeah, they still had a better record than USC this year, so she sleeps well at night. My second prediction is that one driver will lead at least half of the laps in the Cup Series race this weekend.
175?
I think it'll be hard to pass. I think someone's going to get out front and lead at least half the laps when it's all said and done.
That's fair. Me and Jarrett are on similar wavelengths here because I'm going to say that Titans quarterback Will Levis will be at the 2024 Ally 400.
A lot of football crossovers.
Well, I'll finish this off here. I'll stick on the Chicago area here. I think IndyCar and NASCAR will be back at Chicagoland Speedway by 2026 I'm
surprised you haven't made that prediction yet. I'm surprised it took this long.
I wanted to know from people that
okay.
I trust on that, and plus with rumors heating up from a lot of people industry wise, I think that NASCAR is the easy one because the contract ends after 25 with Chicago if they don't pull out of it. As for IndyCar, that's the one that that's still it's on the fence still.
You never know.
I'll go out on that limb, man.
So I might have to amend mine slightly here, but correct me if I'm wrong. The last few years on NBC, the Indy 500 doesn't have any full screen commercials over green flag racing, right? They're almost always side by sides.
No, it's all side by side or full green flag.
So my prediction is the 2025 Indy 500 will feature full screen commercials over some green flag racing.
Oh, that's
thank you, Fox.
No. I can't. Mike
and it's going to be the most annoying ones. Like this weekend, I pointed out it was horrible timing that they gave a mention to Parnelli Jones and they ended it in kind of a nice, just looking at the sky, no fade to black, just suddenly COPD and a lady's on a hospital bed going,
it was awful.
That is awful.
It was no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I in that same moment went, oh, what a terrible transition.
The room.
Yikes.
Having trouble breathing.
My last one, weather will delay the Cup race this weekend.
Oh, why do we got to end on a sour note? All right. There we go.
All right.
You got that down, Jarrett? We'll write them down after the show, so you got it.
Write them down for me.
Put mine in now for you, bud.
We are at over nearly 600 likes, so we have shattered our like goal for the evening, Jarrett, which means it's time for, and we need like a drop for this, the random driver of the week.
Wait, we said it was like this. You have unlocked random driver of the week.
Ding, 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 ding. Just like a bunch of obnoxious noises, like a radio drop.
Just have a siren, like a tornado siren go off.
So Danny is leading our random driver of the week.
Yes.
What's the word?
By 2 at this point.
Yeah, he's starting to pull away. 6. I've got 4. Our guests have 4. So luckily I hopefully can gap them today. And Jarrett has stumped us once, which honestly, I still don't know anything about that guy.
Chad Chapman.
I've watched a couple clips of him after that episode, and I've kind of forgotten. They kind of went in one ear out the other. I'm not a good student.
Well, looking at the last couple weeks here, Danny has the last 2 in a row with Bobby Gerhart, Neil Bonnet. David got Marty Robbins. Danny again
I should
with
not
Cale
have had
Gale.
Neil Bonnet, but I got it.
And then I got Chad Chaffin over you guys. Eric, it has now been, I believe, 6 or 7 weeks since you've won. You got to get on it, man.
All right, I was start off the year so strong. This is not great. All right, we're getting it tonight. I'm
I
calling
am the
my
guy
shot.
known for drivers he forgot about, so I should be leading this one.
That's a good point. I'm Mr. Current Events. I'm not good at the. Although I let Paige get, or who does it that I let get? Carson Hocevar. Somebody
No,
stole
you
that
let-
one, right?
you
Okay,
let-
Me, I got it.
yeah,
No, you
so
let
even
Paige
that-
have Tony Raines after you knew it. You were like, I think it's Tony Raines. I'm not
All right.
sure.
not making that mistake
I
again
was
tonight.
I was at a restaurant in Savannah, Georgia, just mad at Eric over that.
It's
We're
the
good. We got
mirrors.
this. Tonight's the night. Let's do this, Jarrett.
All right, hide the chat. Be ready to go.
Yep, get out of here, chat.
We got 26.
Wait, hold on. I can't close the chat. How the fuck how do I close the chat on this?
The minimize button.
No, it's on when I'm on the studio. There is no minimize button.
There should be.
I don't know where.
Drape a shirt over the screen if you have to.
Let me pop it out. Okay, I can pop out the chat and like put it off the screen. Okay, we're good. I don't see it anymore. We're fine.
All right.
And
While
nobody
we're
sent me any DMs. Somebody sent me a DM during it last week. Was trying to give me the answer.
Eric, this is very sus. I don't trust you.
I'm putting my phone. Like you can see my phone. I'm putting it face down on the desk. So you cannot. You'll have to trust me. Nobody DM me.
The duality of random driver of the week. Anyway,
Hey, I almost got to see the random driver last night. Jarrett had it in wide view, and then he realized that he had it right there, and told me,
The
"You
sacred
didn't see that,
text.
did you?"
yeah. All right, let's get to it. I don't want to hold it off too much longer. These guys are starting to get rowdy in the chat here.
Has the chat already guessed it?
Rowdy, that's a hint.
Oh, jeez. All right, let's get started. This random driver has the same name as a British musician who's a lead singer of an alternative band. Relatively big alternative band.
Okay.
This
Talk about like the full name, first and last.
full name, first and last name, yes.
Wow.
Whoa, the exact. Okay, I don't know if that would give it a hint. Okay.
This random driver is a California native.
Ever heard of a singer named Kevin Harvick?
Jimmy Johnson. I can say that we've used him already.
My name is Tyler Reddick, and we're gonna rock your socks off.
This random driver was actually criticized heavily this year for praising the next gen car. This random driver, and this is the one I always love to say because you guys always get so pressed about me going through and finding. This random driver has been tweeted about once by Danny B, never by Eric or myself.
Huh.
I swear, I'm always at a disadvantage on these clues.
And I'm like, I have no clue why I would have tweeted about them.
Nice. This random driver was once partnered with America's crew chief.
I don't really know who America's crew chief is.
Larry McReynolds, Danny.
Hey, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, why'd you give him an extra hint? This is my chance, Jarrett.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of people had him.
Yeah, no, he worked with, I don't know, a lot of people.
This random driver's nickname was the Gunslinger.
Oh, I've never heard that nickname. That's kind of cool, though. I love that.
I feel like I have, but also I don't know who it was.
This random driver made his first NASCAR Cup Series start at Martinsville in 1986.
Okay, so he is a retired driver for sure. I was like, because I know there was a retired driver who recently did praise the next gen, and I cannot remember who it was. I remember reading the quote.
This random driver has finished in the top 10 in Cup Series points once.
Hmm.
Any guesses?
No.
I have a guess. I'm gonna save it. I'll save
Come
it for
on.
now.
There's 3 guesses.
No, I blew it a couple weeks ago because of this. I'm not jumping at the.
jeez.
No.
This random driver has never ran more than 14 Xfinity Series starts in a single season.
Okay, so they did more cup racing, it sounds like.
In 2001, this random driver suffered a severe injury in a crash at the Chicagoland Speedway giving him a concussion, broken ankle, and torn ACL.
2001. That would have been the track had just opened. Was this like testing?
I can't remember. It might have been. I think it was a practice crash.
I'm going to do a guess. Jerry Nadeau.
No.
Okay.
So one off the
I don't
board
really know
for
where he's
Danny.
from, but it sounds like him for some reason.
You got that guess still, Eric?
Yeah, but I'm going to hold on to it. It might still be right, but I'm going to hold on to it.
This random driver drove for the likes of Michael Waltrip, Bill Davis, Fitz Bradshaw, and Red Bull, among others.
Michael, what, like MWR, I guess?
Yes.
And Red Bull as well.
That does eliminate my one guess, but I think the previous guess, or the previous clue messed up my one guess. So I got nothing, but I'm getting closer. I'm getting much closer.
Red Bull didn't have a ton of guys who raced for him, but I don't have one yet.
This random driver's rookie cup season was 1997 at the age of 40.
Dang, they waited a long time.
That was their rookie cup season?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what year is it? 97?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me again the teams they ran for?
MWR, Bill Davis, Fitz Bradshaw, and Red Bull.
Who was Fitz Bradshaw?
I don't know who that was. I'm getting close, I feel like.
This random driver's best Daytona 500 finish is fourth.
Is it? I might have a guess. That clue didn't help me, I don't think. But I think, is it Josh Wise?
No. So
No, he was definitely not in the 80s, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Wait. What was the 80s clue again? I already forgot that one.
First start was 86 at Martinsville.
Oh, yeah. He's way too old. Never mind. Way too young.
I'm like watching the chat as we go.
Have they gotten it? Are they like
Oh yeah,
pissed at us? I figured.
I had to unhide a comment that said you guys are sucking at this.
Well, they are.
We are. I don't.
This random driver is partially responsible for the yellow line rule. This due to a wild block to the grass on Tony Stewart that this driver threw that started a big wreck.
Hmm.
Who was? How many clues we got left?
11.
All right, we're gonna get this. I feel so close.
While never winning a cup points race, this random driver won 2 exhibition races in Japan.
Whew.
For those in the chat telling me to give away obvious clues, that's kind of not the point of this segment. I'm just seeing people like, tell them this and this and this. It's like, no.
Yes, please tell me this and this and this.
Any guesses?
No.
I came into this so confident, and now I'm like,
I keep thinking of a person, but I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure they're from Missouri.
In 1999, this random driver's car was tested at Daytona by actor Paul Newman. For those that are younger in the chat, that's Doc Hudson from Cars. And had reached 183 miles per hour in that test. It was a race setup.
Not going to help me.
Can I throw out? Well, you mentioned Michael Waltrip. I don't know who else he drove for. David Rudiman.
Nope.
I think he's still too young.
He would have been with MWR during the time of Red Bull, so that eliminates that.
Oh, that's right.
This random driver once had an amazing save in the NASCAR Xfinity series, where he passed 2 cars in the process of spinning through the trioval grass. Anything? This random driver won the 5th closest finish in NASCAR Cup Series history.
Am I allowed to ask what were the teams he drove for again? Because I forgot. So was it Red Bull?
Red Bull, MWR, Bill Davis, and Fitz Bradshaw.
Okay.
This random driver waved the green flag last year at the truck race at North Wilkesboro.
I think I got it. Is it Mike Skinner?
You sure?
It's my guess.
Eric.
I knew. I was like, he
You
said something about the next
are
gen recently.
Right.
Yes.
I was gonna see if I could get you like to.
When you
go
said
back
Wilkesboro,
on it.
I'm like, okay, so it is one of the greatest truck
I
drivers.
wasn't at Wilkesboro, and I wasn't really able to pay attention to the start, so I wouldn't have known that one. So.
That to me, that last clue just solidified, okay, this is a star driver. It's not some no name. Like I was like, they got some like legit person to do it.
I was hiding all of the truck stuff till the very end just because I didn't want to.
That was
give it away.
devious.
Yeah.
He wasn't. He was barely on my radar.
Didn't you guess Mike Skinner last week?
I might have. No,
yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, you did in one of the last 2 weeks because that's why I put him on my list.
I thought it was because I guessed. Not Neil Bonnet. Who did I guess that week? Benny Parsons. Someone else.
You guessed BP on that one. So real quick, the other clues I had here: he retired from NASCAR in 2012. Drove for Randy Moss. Average a 10.9 career average finish in trucks.
Randy Moss would have gave it away to me.
The one that I was
that
actually
might
going
have
to do right up next was this random driver was teammates with Morgan Shepherd, Johnny Sauter, Dave Blaney, Jimmy Johnson, and Dale Earnhardt. And the closest finish one, he had beat Dale Jr. by 4 1,000ths of a second in the 2001 duel at Daytona.
The other one that kind of helped give it away was this passing, this like spin through the grass.
Texas.
And
So wait, he won the exhibition races in Japan?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that also was like, okay, this guy had to be legit, but it wasn't obviously the cup races. So I was like, this had to have been whoever won the truck or like some one of the other races. And I'm like, that also helped. Gave me it. I wasn't certain though. I threw it out there because I was like, I think he would have been at North Wilkesboro, and I think he did say, because they've had all these drivers recently. They had all those star drivers recently out at either Darlington or Wilkesboro. I don't remember. And I do remember one of them saying some good things about the next gen, and I was shocked. So that was. I wasn't 100% sure when I guessed it, but I felt pretty confident.
I'm getting better on these of not giving away clues early on.
Claudia sent just now that we're over, she sent me what my tweet was about Mike Skinner. In May of 2022, I said, when's the last time we saw a flip at Charlotte? Mike Skinner 08, and that was in regards to Chris Buescher flipping a couple years ago.
All right, well, I'm back on the board. I've passed up the guests finally.
Yeah. Good. It's a one guess gap now between you and Danny.
All right. On your heels. Well, on that note, thank you all for playing along at home. Hopefully we didn't disappoint you this week. It's time to talk Iowa Speedway, boys and girls. Iowa is back on the Xfinity schedule. It's on the Cup schedule for the first time.
Back on the schedule in general.
I know. It's very exciting times out in, what do they call it? Is it the Corn State? What do they call Iowa? Is it the Hawkeye State? What is it called?
The Hawkeye State is what it's called, but it is known for the big lumps of knobs that has the juice. Corn.
It's a red flag.
Yes,
how you describe that.
And fittingly enough, the Cup Series race is called the Iowa Corn 350. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's go in chronological order. There is an ARCA race Friday night. We'll skip over to the Xfinity race Saturday afternoon. It's the Hy-Vee Perks 250. It's a 250 lap race. 75, 100 laps are the breakdowns for the stages. That's a 3:30 p.m. Eastern start on USA and the NBC Sports app. MRN and Sirius have the radio coverage. Weather looks warm, maybe a little stormy, 89 degrees. Potential thunderstorms, 49% chance of rain. Chase Briscoe, go back 5 years ago, is the most recent Xfinity winner here. Which car was he driving? Was that the Curse 60 car? What car was he in back in 2019? Was he in Stuart Haas equipment yet?
He never wanted a 60. No one wanted a 60.
Yeah, that's a good point.
SHR.
Yeah, I guess that might have been maybe his second year at SHR. It's been a while. Yeah, I forgot how long ago that was. The Cup race is on Sunday evening. It's a 7 p.m. Eastern start. It's a 350 lap race. 70, 140, 140 are the stage breakdowns. Again, USA, NBC Sports app, MRN, Sirius have your coverage. Weather's looking a little better, a little cooler for sure. 69 degrees, very nice temperatures. Again, some potential spot up thunderstorms, 47% chance of rain. There is no defending winner because the Cup Series has never raced here. And honestly, in some ways, no one has ever raced at this version of Iowa Speedway with that interesting partial repave. Going to throw all these drivers for a loop.
I actually had some fun facts about Iowa Speedway I wanted to share just so everyone can be well researched before we get into this. We're going to go off the Xfinity series. I feel like that's a series that raced here the most. 14 drivers before this have won Xfinity Series race, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of those guys will be racing in the Cup Series race this weekend. Only one driver from that winning list will be in the Xfinity Series race this weekend. That driver is Justin Allgaier. And fun fact, just overall, the best driver without a win in terms of their average finish is Jeremy Clement, an average finish of 19.3.
Very interesting. Some good stats there coming out of Iowa. It's an interesting track, 7/8 of a mile, technically qualifies as a short track. That repave is going to throw everyone for a loop. I know Christopher Bell recently tested there. I forget who the other drivers were. Bell was, he was great at Iowa during his Xfinity tenure. You could see the life leave his eyes when he talked about the new repave. So we don't know what to expect. Nobody really does. Take a quick look at the pick points before we give our takes. Chat, you are in the lead and actually extended your lead a bit this week. You have 265 points. Jarrett, second, -19. Danny is -21. I'm -29. So second through fourth, still real tight, but the gap has widened from first to second. Good job, chat. Well done. I'll give you your credit this week. Look at me. I'm extending an olive branch. Good sportsmanship. We could all learn a thing or two. I'm being the bigger man here.
Be the bigger bunny bugs.
Let's start with the Xfinity Series race. We all have to pick a different driver. Keep that in mind, chat. If we steal your pick, you've got to adjust. I get to go first because I'm the basement boy. This was a tough one. John Hunter's on the entry list in a Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. Big missed opportunity to not put Christopher Bell in an Xfinity car back here, but I'm going to go with a different Gibbs driver. I'll go with Chandler Smith winning on Saturday.
Okay. I entertained the idea of another driver from JGR who's in this race, and it's actually in the Truck Series way of this. He's actually like 100% win to start ratio in that series, but I'm not going to pick Brett Moffitt. I'm going to go with Justin Allgaier on this one.
All right. That leaves the fun picks for me here. Just some others, regulars that might be good, need wins, maybe guys like Custer or whoever, but I'm going to go with my number one pick that's left over, Danny and Eric. Thank you. I'm going John Hunter Nemechek in the 20.
Fair enough. Chat, are y'all leaning Cole Custer, it would appear? Yeah, especially
I took Nemechek from him.
Yeah, Nemechek's off the board.
I didn't mean to.
There's a lot of Haley Degans.
Well, why is that coming in? We know you're not serious.
There's a lot of should we poll?
Do 15 and 00. They're
doing it. Oh, come on. They're doing it.
No. They're obviously going Cole Custer. Chat, look, I'm looking out for you. Again, good sportsmanship. They're obviously going Custer.
They better spam 00s.
Okay, I'm seeing 00 more than 15.
I'm not going to open y'all up to that potential screwiness. Yeah, I think it's 00. Yeah, so chat, you guys got Cole Custer. Let's move on to the Cup race. We'll start with who is going to suck. I guess that means I go first. I hadn't thought this one through too well. I'm not going to pick on Kyle Busch. So instead I'll go with Chase Briscoe. I don't think Stuart Haas is going to have a very good weekend. I know he's the defending Xfinity winner here, but those times have changed.
Even though his average finish is 1.5 in the Xfinity Series, he's only ran here twice in his career. I'm gonna pick on Kyle Busch. It's looking rough. It's gonna stay rough.
Well, you guys are going with guys who could actually perform kind of well. I'm going to continue to pick low-hanging fruit and agree with the chat for the most part and go Austin Dillon.
They're also going with Austin Dillon. It's definitely RCR. I'm seeing 3 and 8, but I'm seeing 3 more.
Yeah, fair enough. So let's get positive. Who is a dark horse at Iowa Speedway?
This one's fun.
This one has the potential to be very fun. I'm going to go with my dark horse being Michael McDowell. He's been a good qualifier this year, and I think that track position, albeit early in the race, is going to be important as long as you don't give it up.
I want to say this is where his first win in the top 3 series in NASCAR came from. And I think it could also, even though the team is on its last leg and going out the door, this is a good chance for Ryan Preece to have a good day.
Ooh, I like that pick. That's a fun one. What do you got, Jarrett?
I'm going to go with this teammate. I'm going to go Chase Briscoe on this one just because of the Xfinity success in the past. Should I bet $5 on him?
Your money, not mine.
I mean, I have a lot more money now from a $5 bet.
Sounds like you might need to call the hotline at the bottom of those billboards.
I just need just one more and I'll be a millionaire.
It's free money. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? I don't have to pay taxes.
The chat is leaning towards actually a lot of some Preeces,
a lot of 77s and 4s.
Yeah, there are a good number of 4s. I might give him Barry. That's kind of a fun. That's some Bowmans as well, actually. A good number of 48s.
We went
straight
a lot of
4s.
I think it's like this. I think it's only like 2 people saying 48 here and there.
All right, I will give them. Let's give him
4.
Josh Berry then. Yeah, I think it's Josh.
We all went Fords in this one.
I just have
weird.
I don't know. All right, then who's gonna win the? What was it called? Iowa Corn 350.
Who wins the corn this weekend?
Corn!
Yeah. It's corn!
My pick. Also, I of course had to pick Justin Allgaier because he'll be in the corn car this weekend.
Naturally, of course. Don't laugh. Don't laugh, chat. Don't laugh, you guys. My pick to win this weekend is Joey Logano.
I'm not gonna laugh.
It's
a new track.
First time things.
That's what it is. That's what I'm banking on. He won the first Bristol Dirt race, the first Coliseum race, the first Gateway race. He won on a recent short track repave at North Wilkesboro. Again, led wire to wire, good qualifier. It's all coming together for me. I think Logano gets the win. And what just destroys the playoff bubble like his teammate did 2 weeks ago. Danny, who you got?
Yeah, it's not happening. You're going to stay in the basement. Give me Christopher Bell.
Damn. Well, you know what? That was my number one. I was actually going to go 20 and 20. 20 for 20 on all of them. But I'll go with my next pick. This guy's pretty good no matter where they go. So I'll go Kyle Larson. Oh, geez. I swear to God if the chat was about to start. Because the chat's a little behind us. So if
they're going, I think they might be going Dennis, the Menace.
I see some nines.
There's a few other variations.
54 is coming in there.
Yeah, it's a good. There's definitely some nines.
There's actually a good amount of sixes too.
Yeah,
Brad was my number 2 pick in all honesty.
I don't even.
Should we pull 6, 11?
Honestly, 11's coming in very strong.
I feel like it's got to be Hamlin. I saw 4 straight a second ago, but I mean, yeah, I don't think it's the 9, and I don't want to
It's more 11 than the other numbers. In all honesty,
I think it's going to be Denny Hamlin. I think that's who they're going with. Chat, do you agree? Do you disagree? I think that's what it is. I think that's what's happening here.
Lock him in, Dennis Hamlin.
Well, it's an even number year. We could just pick the final 4 right there. Logano, Bell, Larson, and Hamlin. I feel like we've seen that
buy
a little bit before.
I don't know if I don't know that I'd buy it just yet. I need to see more from Logano, but he's my pick this weekend. I'm riding with the 22. Chat, thank you all for chiming in. We are just past the second hour, which means it's time to wrap this show up with our final Super Chat stage break. Thank you all so much for your support this evening. We'll pick things up with Isaac the Jedi with a new Pixar film out this weekend. I believe it's Inside Out 2, right? What's your favorite Pixar film? Mine is Ratatouille. Insert Jarrett rolling his eyes here. And what's your favorite Cars film? Mine is 3. I agree 3 is the best, especially if you're a NASCAR fan for cars. But my favorite Pixar movie is The Incredibles. That is my favorite movie, period. What about you guys?
Either Incredibles
it's
or
hard to
Nemo.
beat. It's hard to beat the original Cars, but underrated one is Bug's Life.
Yes.
Ooh, I like that. Some good love for Bug's Life. That's a good question there, Isaac, and good answers there from the panel. Galaxy sent a very generous $10 super chat, first super chat on the channel. Gave it a heart earlier. Really appreciate the support, Galaxy. Jay Hicks says, I remember when Danny sold Toyotas. Now TV.
Yeah, it's amazing the path my career has gone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Garabuki sent another one, said on stacking pennies. SVG said he was doing the burnout for the fans, but once he saw Hill flip him off, he decided to follow him for the
That's
whole
for
lap.
you, buddy.
Yeah, that clip was hilarious. That was a very good clip. And SVG the whole time had this smile. The whole time. NIL Weather, Zach Willis says, look back at SVG's oval finishes this year, and he's consistently running 12th to 18th at the end of races. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been in the teens most of the time, but he's gotten 11th at Martinsville, and I think I said earlier 6th at Phoenix. Just pointing that out. Jackson says Scott McLaughlin could win a cup race if SVG can. At a road course under the right conditions, perhaps. I wouldn't rule that out. SK Abels says, did anyone check Joey Logano's gloves after he won the pole at Sonoma? Yes, aero-dependent Sonoma Raceway. We all know so much about that one. Bobby Blair says, I want MTJ and Dale Jr. to have a fishing show sponsored by Bass Pro Shops. I feel like that would just work. Got 8 little thumbs up, so clearly the chat seems to agree. Austin Bland said heart you guys. I think they meant like love you guys, but it was a nice little heart emoji. Really appreciate that, Austin. Always good to see you in the chat. Thank you for the love and support. Daniel Meredith Jr. says, what number will you remember your driver? Like, I was a Casey Kane fan. I know he drove the 9, 4, 5, and 95. I still see him as number 9. Now I'm a Larson fan. I see him as 5 and not 42. Matt Kenseth, 17 or 20. Jarrett's going with 8 for Dale Jr. What about you, Danny? Do you agree? Number 8?
It's got to be 8 because it was 8, then 8, 8. So 8's still there.
All 8. It always has been.
Who's going to be the tougher one is Alex Bowman. He's one more in a 48.
I think it was 48.
He did have. It's going to be 48.
He's been in the 48 longer at this point, or is it about the same amount of time right now?
18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, been 48 longer.
Yeah. As for Matt Kenseth, I looking back now see him more as the 17, but I remember the 20 years more because they were more recent. Like I was into NASCAR in the 2000s. I kind of fell out of it in 08, 09 a little bit. And then I got back into it really hardcore in 2011 and 2012, but then pretty quickly went to Gibbs and was a championship contender there. So I remember the 20 years more, but if you look around my background, which some of you can't see, like I got 17 in that picture. There's a 17 die cast right there. Like I think 17 with Kenseth.
Noah Coleman, Jeff Gordon, obviously the 88.
That's funny.
He did run it. I saw him drive it.
Kyle Larson, I think of him as the 17 because of IndyCar. Alex Left, thank you for the 5. Another Mike Skinner fact: in season 1 of the Grand Tour, he was their version of the Stig.
Yeah, he's the American.
Oh, I didn't know it. I don't even know what that means, but good fun fact there, Alex. I'm having fun, and it is a fact. Mustang 2006. Hey, Eric, sorry, just got off work. I heard that Fox pre-race show is going away besides Race Hub. Thoughts? Don't know if anyone else covered this. Yeah, we briefly mentioned it towards the beginning of the show. We're not sure. Does that mean just for the remainder of this year? Like, FS1 would do their own race day, even though the races were on NBC. But maybe
NWP has to start going live before races, guys.
Gosh, man, they just keep adding to our schedule. No, so I can't tell if that means for next year that means race day is going away, because if that's the case, like even for the Fox races next year, there's no race day. Like, what are they going to do? Just no pre-race? Just tune in and 5 minutes later the race is going green? That seems ridiculous, personally. But I haven't read the full headline or the full report.
So they treat any sport that's not the UFL anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. You need at least 20 minutes of pre-race or something. There's got to be something. Crash, if you 3 were on a race team, which of you would be the owner, the driver, and the crew chief? What an interesting question.
I think I'd be the crew chief if we're basing it on the show.
No, you're in the best shape of us. I think you got to be the driver.
I mean, I won't say no.
Yeah, you go put your life on the line.
Okay. Sounds fun.
I want to be the owner. I want to be rich.
I know you're losing money in NASCAR, Danny. You would need to have other businesses.
Yeah, how do you have a mansion?
Businesses? I mean, I'll open up Danny B Chevrolet.
Not
So I guess that
Toyota?
means I'm the crew chief, the man who probably has the least technical knowledge of the three of us. We are going
I
places,
am.
gentlemen. We better have a great sim program that somebody else runs. That's the
We'll get
dream
John
team
for
right
that
there.
one.
Yeah, that's the dream team right there. Final super chat, I believe. This comes from Brandy. Thank you so much for the very generous super chat. Hi, Eric. Belated congrats on your engagement. Thank you. Do you think going to the championship in Phoenix is worth it? I'm a Hawaii-based Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch fan, so considering it as a first race since it's closer. Thanks for all your hard work. Wow, from Hawaii. I think Phoenix is a great facility. The racing itself is okay, but as facilities go, it's fairly close to the city. So if you're flying in, I imagine it's 20, 30 minutes from the airport, good number of hotels. The weather in Phoenix in November is pretty good usually. So everything but the racing, I would say, is a double thumbs up about Phoenix. And if you're a Busch Bell fan, not sure about Busch, but Bell, I think, has a shot at being in contention for the championship. There's definitely some extra fanfare since it is the championship race, but if your driver's not in it, I don't know how appealing that would be to you. Would you enjoy it if it's Hamlin, Logano, Truex, and Byron in the championship four? You got to think about that because their face will be everywhere if they are the championship four. So it's a risk, but I think Phoenix is a great facility. I don't think you two have been to Phoenix. Have you?
I was supposed to in 21, and then stuff came up, and last minute I couldn't.
Yeah, so I would say Phoenix is a fun track to go to. The crowd is good, so you'll have a good atmosphere, but just be warned, your drivers might not be in the championship, which means they won't be talked about quite as much as the others. And then one final super chat here from Mustang. Just curious, imagine a TV booth with Mike Joy, Rick Allen, and Alan Bestwick. Just 3 play-by-play guys talking over each other. I don't know how that would work, but
ego measuring contest.
Yeah, they would not balance each other out. It would be pure chaos.
I mean, if you did it radio style, it'd be the greatest radio broadcast.
Yes, that's a good point. If they were all on the MRN broadcast, no disrespect to the great people over there, but those 3 would kill it in a group together.
Do it the way like John and I do iRacing and just hand it off to each other at different sections of the track. I mean, that actually could work now that I don't have my snap thought about it. By the way, since we're ending the show here pretty quick, I did want to let you guys know, if it seemed like I was forcing words in, I got a challenge from a DM asking me to see how many Slipknot song titles I could slide into the podcast tonight since they're from Iowa.
This is like the Kevin Harvick being said a word of the week, but
I feel betrayed.
Edition.
And
how could you not let us in on this game?
I slipped 24 in tonight.
What? I don't even. Yeah. I'm literally Googling their song list because I don't know a whole lot of their songs.
This just disappoints me, Jarrett. I feel like the rain will kill us all in this situation here.
You need to liberate your minds, or you'll be left behind.
I feel so out of the loop. I'm so disappointed.
I wonder if anyone actually noticed tonight. If they're like, that's another Slipknot one.
Mm-hmm.
And some people didn't even. Yeah, most people didn't even notice. That's the best part.
That's just how you talk every week, Jarrett. You always speak in code.
Was that?
I gotta use 100% of my brain to figure out what the hell you're talking about.
See, it would have been really crazy if I managed to slip psychosocial in there. So now I'm just running up the total now that
I just slipped. I just fed it in somehow, so I already got you covered.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that very heavy metal note, that is going to do it for the NASCAR Weekly Podcast, June 12th edition. Next week, we will be on Danny B Talks. You can see it on Danny's shirt right there. If you need to know how it's spelled, the link to his channel is also down in the description. Hit that subscribe button so you know exactly where to find us when we go live, 8 p.m. Eastern, June 19th, I believe, Wednesday night. We will see you all there. Enjoy Iowa Speedway. Going to be a beautiful weekend. Fingers crossed for some great racing in the Hawkeye State. Have a good one, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Drivers!